If you'll just give me a moment of silence, please. Okay, I will now open the Estacada City Council. If you'll please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have roll call, please, City.
Counselor Hughes. Here. Counselor McElroy.
Here.
Counselor Metcalf.
Here.
Counselor Prokop. Here. Counselor Strobel. Counselor Tenbush.
Here.
Mayor Drinkwine.
Here, thank you very much for that. We are at the first citizen and community group comment. I have none in front of me. So we're just gonna move on. Are there any online? No, okay. We are now at the consent agenda. I wanted to make one minor change if I could. I'd like to pull E, the resolution 2024-003, and not for the beginning of it, but for the end of it, because it talks about the budget committee out for discussion. So we'll pull that.
Sorry, that was that was just removing a fund from our budget. So is that what you wanted to talk about, or?
Well, the budget committee at the end of it talks about an application for the budget committee. We're going to have that as a discussion.
Yes,
prior.
that is actually, excuse me, it's under E5E. So we
Okay.
did with that is, I think that's
That's
what
what
we're
I'm,
pulling-
that's what I'm referring to is that,
Yes.
that one.
I think that's what is you're referring. The other committees are under the ordinance, which is 5D, and then that budget committee which it talks about the budget committee. The budget committee appointment is 5E. So I think that first resolution is it's just moving. It's administratively moving a fund that we no longer use. So it
Okay,
doesn't.
so on the backside of that, as we talk about the budget and if a seat on the budget with an application for that seat, would that be on that conversation?
No, that would be on 5E.
Under council.
Oh, sorry, council business. Yeah.
Okay. All right, perfect.
Yep.
All right, then the consent agenda is open for,
I move to approve the consent
all
agenda.
right, I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we are at department and committee reports. So the first on that is quarterly committee reports from all of our groups and committees. So first on the list, who do we have?
I'll start with John.
Sure.
Thank you. So good evening. My name is John Dolzall. I'm a resident of Estacada, and I've been a member of the Traffic and Public Safety Committee since its inception. And tonight I'm going to talk about or report on our 2024, or rather our annual report from last year. And then I'll report on our priorities list for next year or this year. And then I will report on our budget. So regarding our annual report from last year, I'd like to start out by saying that in January of last year, we developed 4 priorities. They were school zone crossing safety and lighting, identify priority roads for improvement, ADA access and safety, and then make recommendations for the TSP update. And per this annual report, which I'll go into detail with, we achieved 5 of our first priority, 11 of our second priority, 1 of our third priority, and 2 for our fourth priority. So whatever it's 16, 17, 18, 19. So we're able to hit of those 4 priorities, hit them 19 times. Specifically, the Traffic Public Safety Committee started in November of 2022. We created our own bylaws and policies within the first month. We had a few members of TPSC on the Hazard Mitigation Advisory Committee at the end of November 2022. We initiated a Main Street mock-up in order to recommend our findings to the Estacada City Council at a council meeting and collaborated with the council during the workshop. We had very positive feedback from the community about Main Street. We thank everyone on the council that stopped by and provided their feedback during the project. We started updating and assisting the city of Estacada in regards to their transportation system plan. The topic of stop signs were mentioned again, and stop me if I'm going too fast or if you have a question. The topic of stop signs were mentioned again on Shafford Avenue, and a traffic study was completed and the stop signs were placed back into both locations. The superintendent of Estacada Schools, Ryan Carpenter, attended our committee meeting and gave us a presentation regarding safe routes to school and answered questions about our school resource officer. We started working on our first budget for the TPSC, and we worked out our four primary goals. We started planning the first national night out as a committee. We created an Estacada traffic safety and control device form for the citizens of Estacada so that they can report these issues in town. We started a traffic and public safety committee Facebook page, which shares updates within town. We attended a What's Up event at the Estacada Library with other committees and nonprofits promoting our mission in town. We attended a TSP meeting with Estacada City Council and made some recommendations to the council. Members of the transportation TPSC attended the Eagle Creek Barton CPO meeting in Estacada, specifically talking about Amasiger and Deuce Road intersections. We attended an Estacada City Council and TPSC workshop about the Main Street project. We recommended that several street signs were faded, unreadable on Main Broadway and several side streets, and they were replaced. We had a national night out discussion concerning the permanent location of the event. We had a great time at the event in August 2023. The Clackamas County Sheriff's Office brought out numerous vehicles and gadgets for all the public to see. Estacada Fire Department parked all of their vehicles and equipment on Jeremy Lovelace in front of the station. We also had local food vendors in attendance. Chief Mendoza has briefed the committee with updates and trends every month all throughout our first year, and it has made such a positive impact in the community. We recommended an audible crossing to ODOT at Broadway and 224. Staff reached out to them and is coordinating with them. We recommended crosswalks across Highway 224 at Southwest 2nd Avenue and Southwest Wade Street. We received requests from citizens concerning 25-mile-per-hour signs to be placed in Estacada neighborhoods and the industrial park, and we recommended these signs. We recommended several traffic speed studies in the following neighborhoods: Northeast Main and 6th, Northeast Broadway and 6th, Northeast 2nd and Northeast 5th, Southeast Oakview Lane and Northeast 4th Avenue. Citizens action request for Southeast Cemetery and Southeast Coupland to Northeast Pierce, Eagle Creek Highway and 10th Broadway, and Northeast Pierce Street. Last page. A light audit was conducted in 2023, and there were 6 areas that needed more light at an intersection or in a neighborhood. After a speed study was conducted in the Campanella Estates at 2 locations, the committee recommended a crosswalk across Northeast Hillway so families could safely cross the street to walk to their children's playground area. The committee made recommendations to the Coupland-Lawrence Road intersection regarding the Coupland-Lawrence Road intersection. And with the help of City Councilor Metcalf, we are on the project list of improvements for Clackamas County. A walkthrough of the area below was conducted with the mayor and members of the TPSC concerning people living below the Red Fox. I didn't write this, so there's some missing words. A walk through the area below the bridge was conducted with the mayor and members of the TPSC concerning people living below the Red Fox and Casadero 211 bridge. The Clackamas County Sheriff's deputies have been vigilant about patrolling this area, and the ant farm cleaned up the trash under the bridge. And finally, on Northeast Main Street, we recommended pedestrian signs and lights to be installed at Clackamas River Elementary and the junior high. So that concludes the report from last year. Moving on to our priorities list for the following year. We have, I think it's 4 or 5 main ones, and then detailed. Do you want me to go just the top line or all specifics? Does it matter? Okay. So priority 1, school zone crossing safety and lighting. We are working on several intersections in Estacada and will recommend to the city council, the Estacada City Council and Public Work Department on our improvements, i.e. crosswalks, pedestrian lighting, safety signage for crossing, etc. 4 intersections that we are currently studying now include the pedestrian crossing, pedestrian signage at North Broadway and 8th, pedestrian crossing and pedestrian signage at North Broadway and Northeast 6th, improved lighting for nighttime events at crosswalk at Estacada High School, improved lighting in front of the Estacada Middle School to intersection at Northeast Main and Northeast 6th. Priority roads for improvement. We are studying numerous roads, neighborhood concerns, intersections, lighting, signage, traffic studies, etc. Speeding is a #1 priority with citizens in town. These are the 7 pending traffic studies in town. Northeast Main Street and 6th, Northeast Broadway and 6th, Northeast 2nd, Northeast 5th Street, Southeast Oakview Lane and Northeast 4th, citizens action request for Southeast Cemetery, Southeast Coupland to Northeast Pierce, Eagle Creek Highway and 10th and Broadway, and then Northeast Pierce Street. We would like to additionally request the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office speed sign for several weeks so we could complete our traffic studies in Estacada. A light audit was conducted in town last year, and another one should be completed in 2024 due to growing population. 2023 light concerns in Estacada. 203 Southwest Cedar Street and Hitchin Post Pizza. Southwest Deuce Road between Southeast Eagle Creek Road and Northeast Sweetwater Road. 420 Northwest Clackamas Way. 4th Avenue Zobrist to 2nd Avenue. Junior high front entrance to high school entrance. And then Northeast Cemetery Road to Northeast Pierce Street. Prioritizing ADA areas for improved access and safety. Certain areas need improving and we will recommend them to the city council. We have a request from a citizen that utilizes a wheelchair that there is no wheelchair access at Southwest 2nd Avenue, Southwest Frontage Road by Les Schwab. Neighborhood Watch. Encourage neighborhoods to collaborate with the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office and report issues within their neighborhoods and work closely with the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. We will be hosting the National Night Out event August 6th in Estacada. Clackamas County Sheriff's Office will be there in force, showing off all of their specialized equipment. Local Estacada vendors from nonprofits will be in attendance and local food carts will be there, and we are inviting other committees to attend. We will continue to attend the Eagle Creek, Barton CPO meetings, so we are able to hear all citizens' voices outside of the Estacada city limits. We plan to collaborate with the Estacada Fire Department on several different trainings and child safety seat classes. Follow-ups. The committee made a recommendation concerning a Campanella neighborhood crosswalk to be placed at the intersection of Northeast Hillway, Northwest Broadway, so families can safely cross Main Road to Children's Playground. TPSC committee discussed these barrier recommendations to prevent accidents at these drop-offs due to inclement weather at 4th Avenue between Southeast Oakview Lane and Southeast Ginseng, Northeast Cascadia Ridge and Northeast Cemetery, Northeast Rockwell Drive and Northeast Cemetery. Barriers could be cables or cement blocks. There are no sidewalks on 4th Avenue between Southeast Oakview Lane and Southeast Ginseng Drive, and we are concerned due to the high volume of children that walk to school and families that walk towards downtown. So that concludes the priority list for this coming year. And finally, the budget. Our budget request is for neighborhood watch events, $500, training with Clackamas County Sheriff's Officer Sarah McClurg, materials for handouts, training materials, signs, generic business cards for TPSC, and then neighborhood watch events in neighborhoods. Estacada school events, $750. Crosswalk safety, $350. And these are subheads or sub titles in the Estacada school events. $350 for crosswalk safety and $400 for school zone cones for the 4 schools. TPSC mock-ups, streets, sidewalks, evacuations, park safety, 1,500. Subtitles are reflective vests, cones, tape measure, string chalk, measuring distance wheel, police no crossing tape. For Main Street, it's estimated 300, Cascadia Ridge 300, Campanella Estates 300, Ferryday Hills 300, and Fourth Avenue 300. Next item is police reports and citations, 500. Fees associated with police reports, citations, body camera, dash cam footage, et cetera, $500. Traffic, next one, traffic and public safety programs, $500. National Night Out event, summertime, supplies, handouts, bouncy balls, frisbees, pencils, pens, and keychains, games, food, and then child safety seat training with the Estacada Fire Department. And then finally, city-sponsored classes with the Estacada Fire Department and Clackamas County Sheriff's Office, $1,000. CPR class, $250. First aid class, $250. Defibrillator, AED, class $250, and then women's self-defense, $250. Total for all those projects is $4,750. That concludes my report.
Very thorough report. We appreciate that. Any questions from the council on any that he's just said? Sure.
I have a question, actually, it's more for staff. He mentioned that you would, you guys have been working with ODOT on the audible crosswalks. Have you guys heard anything back from ODOT yet on that?
They are audible.
Oh, they are,
Out here at the
Out here?
street now.
they are.
I was just gonna check on that because I didn't know.
I walked across it the other day, I could hear it.
They do have the audible.
Oh, okay.
I
Awesome.
wrote down, reach back out to ODOT to ask about that because I hadn't gone and pushed the button to see yet. So fantastic,
Okay,
good job.
perfect, that answers. my
I had
question.
asked them previously, and so obviously having this
great.
committee helps.
All right, that's all I.
All right, we thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just have a question for staff too.
Sure.
Are you, Melanie, are you and Dawn still attending tomorrow?
I am not, Dawn is attending. If
Okay.
for some reason Dawn can't, then I will.
Okay, and then that's just to go over priorities, how to execute that, help them execute on their list, correct?
Mhm, correct.
Okay, next one, list, who do we have? Okay. How are you? All right.
Testing, testing. Okay, good. Just so those of you who might not know me, I'm Sherry Fox Hames. I'm new to Estacada, just moved here last summer with my husband, Mike. And I am the newly elect chair for the Downtown Estacada Committee. So we'll get started. First of all, we just want to say thank you to Hannah Smith for our former chair. She's still on the committee. She did a tremendous job for the last year and a half. So we just thanks go out to her. The DEC is excited that we now all have 7 seats filled for our committee. That's the first time that's happened in a long time. Last year we were kind of running. We still managed to do a great 4th of July parade. We had the first annual Oktoberfest and then we took over the Christmas tree lighting event. So we still managed to do all those with short-staffed people. But we are looking forward to also partnering and collaborating with other commissions within the Estacada area for new community events going forward. We also have 3 major upcoming events that we're looking forward. We're always looking for volunteers for every event. We want to make sure that people know that they don't necessarily need to volunteer the day of, because we're always looking for setup before and then tear down after. So any volunteers is needed if there's anybody out listening or in the back. As far as the 4th of July parade, we're looking at finalizing a grand marshal candidate. We're not going to go with any specific theme. We're just going to go red, white, and blue. Make it easy. And we're also going to be sending out information. My understanding is when we've put this event on in the past, we've had issues with community not knowing how to get around the roadblocks because we do cordon off the road for the parade. So we will be sending out a map with the help of staff early, way early, so people know when the roads are going to be closed off and how to get around them, and little maps to show them how to do that. Because I'm still learning the roads as well. Let's see, our second annual Oktoberfest, we have that on our map to do that again. We also are going to try to partner with the Arts Committee and Harvest Fest. So we're, again, that whole collaborating with other committees. More to come on that as far as all of our subcommittees. They're in the portion they're right now being formed and also working on particulars for each event. We're going to continue with our social media advertising, door hangers, and the door hangers should be out around the May-June timeframe. That will list all the 2024 local Estacada events. We still are looking at newspaper submission. One of the reasons that we're kind of hesitant on that is because in the past, this has been quite expensive for our budget. And we're not sure if we're actually meeting and getting the information out to the people that really need it. So we're going to still look at that, but we'll decide on whether it's cost efficient right now on that. Other than that, our budget is pretty much has not changed. The only thing that really changed significantly is the tree lighting, because that's the money that came from that we asked a couple of months ago just to be transferred over into since we have taken over that event, and that has already been done by staff. But other than that, does anybody have anything on the budget? Our budget is pretty small and pretty simple. I'm happy to go into any specifics if anybody has any questions.
I have one question. I think the Spooky Walk, did you take on the Spooky Walk as part of that, or?
So my understanding is, as far as the Spooky Walk, the chamber is actually going to be taking on that. Connie is spearheading that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the chamber's taking back over what they call it before. It was the creep and crawl.
Yeah.
And you know, when COVID hit, it was absent for a year, and then it was taken over by a local nonprofit. And since they want to relinquish it, the chamber has just taken it back, and they're taking back and putting back the name, the creep and crawl, and they're just going to continue like they did pre-COVID.
Okay, great.
Any other questions, concerns, suggestions?
I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
All right,
Keep
thank
up
you.
the good work.
Okay. All right.
Evening, guys. Oh, well, we'll keep this brief. Mike Anderley, the vice chair of DEIC. We all had a fairly recent workshop and engagement, so I think you guys kind of know what's happened over the last year, but these are some of the action points that the DEIC has set for 24-25. We have kind of pivoted a little bit to try and make our focus educating people about how to engage the city and the community directly through commissions and through just letting them know ways that they can participate. So within that, we're going to engage and reach out to community groups and churches. That involves reviewing the one sheet survey that we did last year and sort of expanding on it, building on it. We're scheduling meetings with those groups and churches. We'd like to hold some listening sessions. I think that we'd like your feedback a little bit in maybe the best way of approaching that. I don't really think that looks like a town hall, but we would like to let people have, again, more than 3 minutes to just ask questions or interact with the DEIC directly. We are going to network with community organizations about best practices for rural community engagement, create a community engagement toolkit, And we plan on tabling as many community events as we can in the upcoming year. DIC is also looking to engage with students in Estacada through organizing a youth council and scheduling regular meetings with school staff. We would also like to focus on drug education and awareness, I think, is something that's recently come to light as a concern in the community. As far as outreach and working with other committees, we'd like to organize another committee summit. The DIC would like to deploy liaisons to the other committees in town so that we can just kind of get everybody's feedback and have a little bit more familiarity of what everybody else is doing, and then sort of tighten the network up a little bit. And then there's some code updates. We want to review the processes regarding decision-making, which has previously resulted in negative impacts, and review accessibility for public engagement. And then as far as the budget is concerned, we're requesting the same $1,200, just as a sort of to restate. The DIC, from my understanding, has yet to deploy any money that we've requested for the budget, but we definitely have a different set of direct action points this year, which might have some need to deploy those funds. So that's pretty much what we need.
Okay, any questions for that group? Mike?
For the code updates you guys are looking at, do you have any idea of which ones those were, what the negative impacts were?
Can you help me answer that question? I'm sort of filling in for.
Yeah, because Tammy's absent. The negative impacts they were specifically talking about was the Wade Creek Park. So it wasn't necessarily code updates. It's how we had the decision making to do the paths in Wade Creek Park, which aren't necessarily as ADA accessible as they should be.
Gotcha.
So they were going to be looking at how that decision was made and if there's ways that they can change the processes for that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think that it was, the difficulty may have been that there was no way to really address that retroactively, but we just wanted to have more participation in the foresight of those projects, I guess, maybe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and we left code updates in there because there's code that comes before, like we had the TSP this year. So that would come before them to review.
Okay.
It's not, if we didn't put any specific in there, because that's kind of be more like staff is saying that we need this code reviewed.
Got it. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
I would just like to applaud you on the clear goals and vision, much improved.
Who's next? Let's hear. Hold on, okay, great.
How's it going? Sorry I couldn't be there in person, a bit under the weather today. But my name is Vincent. I'm the chair of the Parks and Rec Committee. And for our goals and budget for the year, the first event we have going on is the Art in the Park, which will be May 5th from 2 to 4 p.m., which is the event where the kids come out, sell their arts and crafts for a couple hours and hang out in the parks in Wade Creek. The next event we have going, hopefully it will be the first year we had it. We're doing the ivy cleanup in Ranger Woods. I got the okay from the school board to be able to do it. So I just need to work with Public Works to coordinate the disposal. And I worked with Solve Oregon, which they were able to provide us with some funding and some insight and in starting events like this. And I'm hoping this will be the first one of many, and we could do the ivy cleanup this year in Ranger Woods and then focus on other areas of the city going forward. After that, we're going into a busy summer where we're going to have 5 concerts in the parks. After that, we'll be doing the trick or trot for like we normally do for the kids in Halloween. A few other items we're doing that aren't budgetary. There's no expense items. We're going to be providing guidance for providing wayfare signs for walking to parks. We should be providing the city with our recommendation this week for that. We're looking to do a new winter event to replace the candy cane hunt we did in previous years. We will be doing our land in SDC use with the council. Obviously, you guys know about that, but we'll be doing that together. We have a few park and safety maintenance goals. We just want to make sure. I would like to develop a system where we have maybe members on our committee, maybe like super users within the community, like providing constant feedback to us for any park maintenance or park safety issues. They have concerns that way. That way, we can start make sure we're addressing the issues for the city. And then hopefully we aren't doing a sprint into spring this year, but we would like to get a qualified course and do it starting in 25, the spring of 25. That way we can have an actual registered course where we can charge runners to come out and actually do a 5K and have like legitimate times where they could have uh, their times recorded and they can use it to qualify for other bigger marathons like the Boston Marathon or any other marathons like that. That would be a unique event because it'll be actually a revenue an event that brings in revenue because we could actually charge people $30 or $40 to come out, run, and do those types of things. And if we have 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 people, we can probably raise about $1,000 to $1,500 just through that one event. We would need to get the course licensed, which would cost $500, but the license would actually last 10 years, which would be good. That way, we have a course where we can record times, and would be great. And then our overall budget, we're looking about 14,000. The most of it was the concert in the park, paying for the bands, paying for the equipment. That was around 12,000. The rest of it is just flyers and things like that to promote our events. And we have a few new members coming in for the 25 year. We actually have a full panel this year, so that'll be good going forward. And yeah, we're just looking forward to getting our events going and hopefully starting some new ones and bringing back some old favorites.
Okay. Well, that sounds exciting. Any questions for Parks? Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
The budget in our packet says 9,400, but you said 14,000. Am I missing something on that?
It should be 14. I'm not sure exactly what you're seeing.
Oh, it was the total expenses, total income for 2024, 2025. I guess it's a wash on that. Maybe I'm missing the document for the budget.
Oh, I have 14, but it could be that the revenue was
EAAC.
reducing it a little bit.
Oh, I apologize.
If we were to
Wrong
have that event and we were to get revenue, it would reduce it, but.
We were just looking at the wrong.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Has anyone from the Parks Commission looked at the skate park, the graffiti in the skate park?
I was just discussing with someone about painting back over, because traditionally we've always let the kids paint in the bowl of the skate park. We've let them just do their thing there. Once the paint goes outside of the bowl area, then it becomes a nuisance, and we try to make sure it gets cleaned up and everything. But are you referring to like the part that's actually in the bowl or the outside of it?
Yeah, just some of the vulgar stuff that's painted on the inside of the bowl. I was thinking maybe a good solution, either be able to track the activity down there or get an artist to come in and paint something nice enough that kids don't want to paint on top of it. See if you could discourage it by putting something that they would enjoy seeing there, and maybe keep people from just openly spraying. If you go down there recently and take a look at what's on there, I won't mention it, but just
I'll take a peek. I know traditionally we've always let the kids do it just because it's been it's an outlet for them, and it's kind of an easy spot where it's hidden, and like majority of the community, it's not that big of a nuisance because it's literally like below the line of sight, right? But if there are some like vulgar things, we could like put a clean coat of paint on it and then just let them keep going on it, and then just let them know like, hey, if you guys do any of like the vulgar stuff, we're just gonna paint over it and deal with it that way too. But yeah, let me know what you guys think.
Okay, great.
All of our parks guys take a look also, because we do, if they're, we let them typically, historically, we've let them do what they want to do. But if there's offensive or vulgar words in there, then we try to get rid of them right away.
Just big pieces.
Go ahead.
I saw that there were some bathrooms close Campanella had a sign up on their bathrooms closed. Are we having issues with people stealing lights again? Or are we having vandalism in the bathrooms, or is there something going on?
I do not know about that. I'll ask Public Works and Parks to. let me
I know
when they
Dawn
can-
was gonna get new locks for the Campanella bathrooms, if I'm not mistaken too. So it could be that they just haven't been replaced yet too.
And then, on the topic of Wade Creek by the skate park, is there any plan to fix or replace the broken equipment
I'm
at the
not-
park? Like the
Which
kids'
equipment?
equipment? There's missing little spring toy that kids bounce on, and I saw that they redid bark and stuff like that, but do you guys have that in your budget or on your target list of things to work on, or is?
I will check about that. I didn't realize there was part missing. I know that Don, as Public Works Director, is wanting to replace some of those little kids' toys that they play on, and I wasn't aware that they were currently broken, but let me check on that. Also, I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? No, so we thank you, Belamo. That was a good
Yeah.
report. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Who do I have next?
Is Jesse Kerr or a representative from the Arts Commission online? If you are, please raise your hand.
Are we there? Okay. I guess that's it, huh? We don't have any more. All right, we thank all of you tonight for coming forward. It was very in depth. A lot of you did good work putting these budgets together and letting us know what you're up to. This is what we look for going forward and making the expenses that we are in this city. We want to make sure that it's all going to the right things and that we're getting things done. So we appreciate all of that and we appreciate you coming forward. In that, I will move on to the city manager's report.
Okay, thank you. Yes, and thank you, everybody, for coming and sharing a lot of great work going on those committees and things that they can kind of, sometimes for staff, it's a little overwhelming because there's a long list of things, but we just need to prioritize and keep working through them. And it really helps to all the work they're doing and the things they call to our attention is helpful. So I changed this to city manager, city attorney report in case Peter wants to weigh in on anything that I'm talking about today. But first of all, I want to give you a quick Main Street update. The project is going well. We're on time. We're within budget. The street will be paved in case anybody was wondering. I think there was maybe one random comment wondering if we were actually going to pave the street. Yes, the street will be paved and the roads will need to be closed for a brief amount of time. It will probably be just a few days. We aren't sure if it's going to be side to side or block to block. So we'll be bringing more information, but the streets will be paved. There will be a 4-way stop, which is going to be maybe it's anticipated because sometimes it feels like it should be a 4-way stop already at 4th and Main. But that will be put in. It was recommended by the Traffic and Public Safety folks back in April last year and approved by council in May last year. And then I'm going to be bringing a resolution to your next council meeting because in the code, it says that if we're putting in new stop signs or new traffic control or parking control, that the council approves that by a resolution. So I'll bring that to you. And for anybody who is wanting to get updates on the Main Street project, go to cityofestacada.org. You just scroll down to city projects, click on the Main Street update page, and there's a form to fill out. And then for our new wastewater facility project, the notice of intent to award the contract has been issued. We did do an RFP for our CMGC contract management general contractor. So we're holding an initial meeting with Sladen on Wednesday. They are the top, experts in wastewater facilities, which is really fantastic that they were interested in our project. And we're excited to work with them. So we'll hold an initial kind of a kickoff meeting on Sladen. We'll be bringing a contract back to the council that will be on your May 13th agenda. So that's moving forward. And then town hall coming in May. It's going to be on May 20th at 6:30 p.m. We will determine the venue next week. So we'd love to get RSVPs. You can call City Hall and let us know that you'd like to attend. It's open to all of the public. We won't have 3-minute time limits. They'll just be able to ask questions and converse with the council. You can call City Hall, you can email info@cityofestacada.org. You can also RSVP on the Facebook event, and you're not required to RSVP, but that will help us provide the right amount of seating and choose the right venue. So we would appreciate that. We're looking forward to it. Thriving Communities Program was awarded to Estacada. It's a very competitive nationwide program through the U.S. Department of Transportation, and Estacada is the only city in Oregon who received this, was awarded this program. It's a 3-year program, and there's 16 cities nationwide, small cities. So it's pretty competitive. And I just want to say thank you for the council's support. We applied last year. I say we applied, Elena applied last year for us, and then you supported again. So we applied again. And so because of your support and Elena's work on the application, we were successful this time. And the 2 main partners that will be working through this program with us are Todos Juntos and the Estacada Fire District, and other agencies that may be included depending on what we do could be agencies or organizations or companies, the school district, Lock Buildings, SAM, which is Sandy Area Metro Bus, as well as ODOT. And did you want to say anything else, Elena? Or
Yeah, so this program is not a grant per se. They're not giving us money. They're giving us capacity building and training. So it is coming in here, training us for federal grant writing, potentially helping us do some plans, maybe pre-engineering, environmental studies, things that we need to move our projects forward collectively. There was quite a list of things that we put in the grant application, including evacuation planning, planning for the old mill. If you weren't aware, we don't have ambulance service locally. So the Estacada Fire District does not have ambulance. They contract out. So that was one of the major points that we put in there just to try and get that going for the community too.
so we're excited about this.
Yeah.
All right. And then we're working on solutions for yard debris. Peter and I met Friday with the staff from Walker Disposal. Walker Disposal is still in transition following Judy Walker's passing last year. Both Walker and Arrow are working with staff, working with us to determine a solution for yard debris. There are barriers to starting the program in Estacada, and they are legitimate barriers. However, we're trying to work through those. So currently there's an option where you can set out an extra can of garbage if you have weekly service, and it would be $8.10 for you to set out an extra 35-gallon container. And so, occasionally if you set that out, it won't go to recycle, like to a yard debris recycle place, unfortunately at this point, but it is a way to help get rid of some of that yard debris. And there will be more information coming out as we're trying to troubleshoot this and get it moving forward, because we know it's a need. I heard there was some brush fire outside town. If that wasn't a rumor, I think it actually happened over the weekend. And so we want people to be able to keep their yards trimmed and tidy, and also be able to get rid of their yard debris. And we had a brief discussion with a few of you on a possible revision to council rules. In the rules, it states that council is going to have their meetings second and fourth Monday at 7 p.m. And I'm wondering if you would like to have a discussion about moving that time earlier, perhaps. So if we have a workshop, we'll start early, but would you like to just move your meeting time earlier? And if you want to discuss that, I know Paul's not here tonight, but I could bring that back to you, and the possibility of changing council rules. If that would be feasible for you, think it would work with the community. Just looking for some feedback.
I think we had a semi discussion already about moving it to 6.
Mhm.
So it seems to me that would probably work out well. Anyway, I don't
Okay.
think we really need to set up another time. I
Okay,
think we're all in consensus when we last talked about it. but-
okay. So I'll bring back the rules with a way to revise those. And
And if you want next meeting to begin at 6, you can make a motion tonight to instruct staff to schedule it at 6 o'clock, and we can just do that until the rules ratified.
Okay, great.
So we can get you the outcome you want.
mhm.
Should we do that at this point, or should we
Yeah.
give it to council?
Sure, I guess go ahead
All
now.
right, can I get a motion on the floor to do just that?
I motion to move the city council meeting to start time to 6 p.m. going forward.
I have a first, wait a second.
A second.
And first and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion done. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you. And that is it. Any questions or other comments? Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay. And we'll move on to council business. The first thing I have on council business is Housing Authority of Clackamas County Letter of Support.
All right, we have a couple of folks online here. Sadie's going to bring them into the meeting. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Housing Authority, which is the Board of County Commissioners, I believe. The county administrator, Gary Schmidt, is requesting that the council would consider a letter of support from our council to the Board of County Commissioners about the Housing Authority's repositioning of public housing. I have in the packet a draft letter that can be revised however you want to, what you want to say that you support, or it's totally optional if you have conviction to support or not. But we have Adam Brown online, and Devin is also here to answer. I think Adam is Adam there too? Okay.
Adam is requesting to be added as a panelist.
Okay, so she'll bring him in as well. So I try to put as much information into the staff report as possible, but if you have questions or would like them to go over a little, just kind of go over the program briefly before you would discuss it with them, that's what they are here for.
Okay, great. All right, let's continue on. Who's first to speak on that?
All right. Hello there. Thank you for joining us, Devin and Adam.
Good evening. I'm Devin Ellen. I'm the Development Director with the Housing Authority of Clackamas County. I'm joined by Adam Brown. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight. Adam Brown, Deputy Director at Clackamas County's Health, Housing, and Human Services.
And we're here to talk about a process that the Housing Authority is undertaking to reposition its public housing portfolio, which includes 6 scattered site public housing units in the city of Estacada. The Housing Authority's portfolio consists of 3 100-unit multifamily developments, Hillside Park in Milwaukee, Clackamas Heights and Oregon City View Manor in Oregon City, and the 145-unit scattered site portfolio consisting of single-family homes located throughout Clackamas County. So why are we doing this? Clackamas County has the oldest public housing in Oregon and among the oldest in the country. And for decades, the federal government has reduced budgets for public housing repairs and operations, and housing authorities are struggling to adequately maintain their public housing units. So public housing units are solely funded through annual appropriations from HUD. And the Housing Authority cannot apply for outside funding to support these units or refinance them to subsidize a rehabilitation. So in place of investing in public housing, the federal government has increased its investment in affordable housing programs like the Section 8 Rental Assistance Program and the Low Income Housing Tax Credit Program. So in 2018, recognizing that housing authorities like Clackamas County were struggling and facing a significant backlog of capital needs, HUD created some programs that authorizes the housing authorities to reposition their public housing to a more sustainable platform like Section 8. So essentially, we're converting our public housing platform, which is known as Section 9, to the Section 8 rental assistance platform. And the main difference between that is that in public housing, the subsidy is attached to the unit itself. And in Section 8, the subsidy is attached to the tenant. So they have the ability to move to a location where they want to live. They don't necessarily have to live in a public housing unit. So repositioning will allow the county to replace its aging public housing portfolio with new rental assistance vouchers and newly developed affordable housing. So we're going through this process called Section 18. And this letter that we're requesting is a letter of support that HUD asks us to provide along with our application as part of the disposition process, we'll be selling the scattered site units. And we're hoping to prioritize whenever possible the sale of those to a land trust so we can support affordable home ownership opportunities. And every resident is given the opportunity to purchase their own home, whether they can do it, fee simple on the open market at fair market value or through the land trust. And if neither of those options work for them, then we'll provide relocation assistance and a tenant protection voucher, allowing them to relocate. And all residents will go through the relocation process and be housed in a new home prior to moving forward with the disposition or sale. So that's a high level overview. I'd love to just open it up for questions.
Yeah, Devin, I have a question right off the bat. The people that you're talking about relocating to another destination, is there any way to keep them in the area? I mean, these are people that probably have children that have raised their children here, and there's all kinds of factors here that play in, and I'd hate to see these people be moved out because of relocation versus staying here where they're comfortable and where they know the people. So is there any way that this can be streamlined to get them into these houses in a more permanent sense that would give them that advantage?
Absolutely. That's a great question. That is our goal. So they'll have the option to either purchase the home that they live in, the home in Estacada, through either the, fee simple fair market value purchase, excuse me, or through working with a land trust. And then barring that, they'll have the opportunity, they'll have this rental assistance voucher where they can move wherever they want in the private market. And we'll be working with their relocation, consultant to find housing where they want to live. So if they want to stay in Estacada, by all means, that's what we'll try to work towards.
Thank you. Any other
And
questions?
I'll just add that we do want to give folks the opportunity to stay where they want to be, where they have roots, and those, for these households, those roots are most likely in Estacada. And so in the event that they're not able to acquire the home, like Devin said, they have this tenant protection voucher. We provide them with relocation assistance, which includes helping cover their moving expenses, supporting them in identifying a unit in an area where they want to be, covering those moving expenses, covering things like security deposits. So the program ultimately is designed to help people stay where they are and minimize the inconvenience on them, the disruptions to the households, and the financial impact that might come as a result of the move.
Thank you. Mike, you have a question?
Is the sole purpose of the letter to just give our support for the sale of those scattered properties in Estacada?
It's support of our disposition application to HUD. So that's allowing us to, dispose of the unit, which could mean that it's purchased by a land trust or by the tenant that's living there. And then also it allows us to apply for the voucher.
You have a question over here? Okay.
I have some questions of my own, but I just wanted to say that the DEI committee was just notified of this happening, and they have a lot of questions that they would like answered. I don't have a list, so if possible, if we could consult with them before making a final decision, that would be ideal. There was a general information notice sent. Have the 6 households received and returned that?
Yes, they have all received it. They were sent certified mail, and I'll have to check with the relocation consultant to confirm that it was returned.
Okay. So I had asked that the tenants be invited, but I don't see any. I was hoping that I could get their feedback on this so that I'm not fighting for something that they're like fine with or what have you. So let's see, the March 7th meeting,
for residents that were being displaced. How well was that attended, and are there more being planned?
Yeah, that's a great question. We held 2 meetings, and I believe we had at least 30 residents attend via Zoom in total. And we will have many more meetings moving forward. I think the next step will be getting our application submitted. And then we'll, update everyone that event has occurred. And then, if the application is approved, obviously we will notify everyone. And that's when our relocation consultants will be reaching out to schedule the one-on-one meetings to, ask questions, find out, what their preferred relocation timeline is, what their needs are, where they want to live. Do they want to try to purchase their home? Our resident services team is in contact with all of our public housing residents and setting up individual development accounts for folks that are interested, so they can start accumulating down payments towards purchasing their home. And those that are interested are enrolling in, financial home buying courses with Dev Northwest, who is partnering with us on this.
And I appreciate that this went to, and I'm sorry there wasn't enough notice to get the residents here. We certainly care about their feedback and the impact this has on them. And I appreciate that this has been sent to your DEI committee. We would be happy to field the questions from them and provide written responses, or if it works, set a daytime meeting to meet with them.
I'll speak
Jonathan.
quick and then let Counselor Metcalf speak. I could send those questions for answers. And I'm sorry I didn't get this on your first meeting in April, because they do need to have this back by April 30th. And so if we're going to support, if you want to provide this letter of support, we need to do it tonight. And I'm sorry, again, I didn't get it on the first meeting. So you'd have more time to think about it. And we can get the questions answered for the DEI committee. I do feel like this is probably a long-term good solution that they're looking at, but we do understand that how important it is for them to work with the folks living in those houses, because it's never fun to move, when you want to. And if it's just that you have to now, I know that that's difficult. And so, but if you want to support it, tonight would be the night to support it.
And we had a lot of questions that we wanted to get the answers to before we brought to you as a council, just because we got the general notice and we need a lot more information to understand the impact to the community.
Okay. Jonathan.
I've seen some of this correspondence through email, but I just want to hear it from the horse's mouth and for record that the sale of these properties is not going to end up resulting in a 100-unit apartment complex in our community, correct? Or because you keep mentioning the sale to a land trust, do they have a history of then turning these into apartments or something like that, low income housing? I mean, what's the impact outside of just the sale of the property to our community? And obviously, I understand that it displaces people, but I think you guys have addressed that enough. But how does this affect our community going forward?
So we looked at the individual properties to look at the size of those, because there are a couple of different options. They're I don't want to call them cottage size houses, but they're definitely small houses. They would not be obvious candidates for a group home type of living scenario at all. Just based on their size. I've represented a lot of cities that have had those, and the thing that, whether it's Iron Tribe or one of the many service providers, what they really look for is the size of the home. So these do not appear to be candidates for that. When we got this, we were all just really uncomfortable with the thought of having people be displaced, members of the community. And what we learned is that the county's portfolio of these kind of scattered single family houses just all over the county make it really hard to manage. And the existing multifamily units that they mentioned are built at a far lower density than really would be ideal. And so what we learned was that those two sites, I think particularly the one in Oregon City, was at like 20% of the capacity of what it could be as far as units. And they're really old units. So by selling the houses scattered around, whether it's to the tenants, which I think that would be our hope, so people aren't displaced, or whether if it goes to the market, and we've said, you know, if it goes to the open market, could there be some sort of restriction so it would go to a first responder or someone in the school district, just because people are having trouble finding houses in Estacada now? That's like, I guess, a conversation for after we see if these are going to get sold or not. But the idea is then they take all the funds from those homes and then be able to build the type of units that they would be more ideal in the Oregon City and the other location. So just a far higher density development that better utilizes that acreage, because it really is acreage. And then, yeah, these lots, some of the lots are, there are a couple of contiguous ones, but they're on the corner of a road, and it would just be, I mean, their highest and best use is going to be as a single family home on that site. It's just not, it really wouldn't be feasible, nor is that the business model for the county in order to do like a 5-6 unit development, even if they could. So we think that what we don't know is whether the people there will have the ability to purchase them or not, and what terms the land trust will be able to offer. But beyond that, I think that there isn't going to be a larger impact to the community, if that makes sense.
Well, what I would hate to see is this turn into removing somebody from their home to be something that ends up with ADUs in the backyard or something to accommodate more residents.
Yeah, what they're trying to do is actually get out of this, owning all of these properties because it's really hard to maintain properties that are just scattered around. I understand why they bought these units. I'm sure they got a great price on them when they bought them, but they're trying to go from scattered to consolidated, and these couldn't be consolidated based on the current zoning, really.
Yeah, and I'll add a little bit to that. So we, like Devin was saying, our portfolio of public housing units it's 445 units. 300 of those units are in multifamily developments in Hillside Park in Milwaukee, in Oregon City View Manor, and Clackamas Heights in Oregon City. So I'll give you an example of kind of the difference here. So the comments there about the scattered sites, that's correct. We're gonna sell off all the scattered sites. We anticipate that that'll generate upwards of $50 million. And then we're gonna use those asset sale proceeds to invest in larger affordable housing development projects. We don't have plans to do that in Estacada. We're gonna sell these sites. But just to give you an example, Hillside Park in Milwaukee, we're starting on phase 1 of that redevelopment right now. So Hillside Park is 100 units of really old wartime housing from the 1940s that has a lot of unmet capital needs. We got, roofs that need to be replaced, flooring, siding, countertops, you name it, right? It's exceeded its useful life. Those homes don't even have real foundations. So we're going to take these 100 units on 13 acres, and they're all going to be leveled, and that is going to be redeveloped into 500 units of affordable housing in 2 phases. So phase 1, that's set to close here in June, and the first about 50 homes are going to be cleared out, and that's going to be redeveloped into 275 units. So that's a big redevelopment that's $150 million. We're using Metro Affordable Housing Bond funds, and other development funds, but so that project is underway. Oregon City View Manor in Oregon City, we intend to sell that site, and then redevelop Clackamas Heights right close to there, which will look sort of similar to what's happening at Hillside Park in Milwaukee, where we're taking this old kind of wartime housing that's scattered 100 units, and we're going to redevelop that. So that's kind of the difference. But these scattered site single family homes, they are really challenging for us to maintain. There's chronic underfunding from HUD. We haven't had the capital resources that we need to adequately maintain those sites. So we're going to get rid of them and try to make a more efficient system. But this is kind of a once in a generation opportunity as far as affordable housing development in Clackamas County, because Hillside Park, for example, we're going to take 100 units, turn it into 500 units. But it's not just the 500 units, because we also get 1-for-1 tenant protection vouchers for the 100 households that live there today. So it's actually 600 units. So similarly with these 145 scattered site single family homes, we sell those homes, but we don't lose affordable housing inventory because we get 1-for-1 vouchers. So we sell those houses, but we get 145 perpetual tenant protection vouchers that we get to use indefinitely to house people at private market units, rental units in the community.
Sure, you have a question.
So those projects are amazing and much needed in Clackamas County, but our concern should be the 6 families in Estacada. And we're already short on Section 8 and affordable housing in Estacada. So there's nothing saying that these 6 families are going to be able to stay in Estacada, because I mean, there's a reason that they're in the situation that they are. Their reasons are their own, but there's not enough affordable housing in Estacada to be able to, keep these 6 families if they're not staying in the houses that they're at. So my fear is that these six families are going to be, not going to be able to stay in the community that they live in. So it's really hard for me to wrap my brain around supporting this. I mean, without having a good, solid, plan in place for them to stay in the community that they want to stay in, when we all know that there's just not enough.
This is Melanie. Could you explain a little about how those Section 8 vouchers work? Because I think that when people have to get on a wait list to get vouchers, and there's a shortage. And so this will help that. And then once they get a voucher, they can use that at any house. That doesn't have to be any particular house. It could be any type of a rental. Is that correct? That'd be, I guess, question 1. And question 2, is there any way we can be supportive if this is going to go through with our support, or if we decide not to support, and if it goes through anyway, is there any way that we could help with these 6 families in living in Estacada?
Yeah, so that's great questions. So we have a waiting list for folks hoping to get Section 8 vouchers. The last time I looked at the list, it was quite long, in the thousands. So the folks that are displaced from the public housing due to repositioning would be issued a voucher automatically. They wouldn't have to go onto a waiting list. And those vouchers can be used at an affordable housing development. They can be used just on the private market, so any home. And they pay pretty well. Each voucher amount is different and is dependent on the household's living, situation, number of households in the family, level of income. But we have fair market rents that we can post and send to you that kind of give the ballpark of, what they might expect to receive in rental assistance. And certainly if they have a desire to stay in Estacada, our relocation consultant has been really successful in finding homes for people in the place that they want to live. So while I can't sit here and guarantee that they can stay in Estacada or that they want to stay in Estacada. If they do, we will make every effort to support that.
And just, I'll add a little bit. So the amount of the value of the voucher, the amount of rent assistance that they get is a function of the size of the household. So if it's a, two parents with 3 kids, 5-person household, they're gonna get more. Their rental assistance voucher is worth more than a single individual household. But then, Devin, correct me if I don't get this quite right, but then regardless, they don't pay more than 30% of their household income on rent. So that's the way the voucher programs work, is that, they get the rent assistance to cover the balance in excess of 30%, but it's up to a certain amount. And that certain amount is based on the fair market rents for our area.
That's correct.
All right, Mike.
Does your department have the funds to be able to take, what is the condition of the 6 scattered sites in Estacada? Are they in need of roofs and updates, electrical out of date, stuff like that? And do you guys have the funds to take care of the houses if they stay there?
No, and that is why we're moving out of public housing. I don't know the condition of these particular homes. I can get more information for you about that, but.
No, yeah, okay.
All right. Very.
So do the property owners or property managers of the houses that are up for rent in Estacada, do they have to agree to the Section 8, or is that something that, if they qualify for it, it just goes through?
Good question. Yes, it's against the law in the state of Oregon to discriminate against Section 8.
I just want to make sure that I understood correctly, earlier on in the beginning of your presentation. Now, I think I just, maybe I did understand it correctly. So the people, so before they're displaced or relocated, or if they can purchase that home, they first need to, I guess I'm saying, they're not going to get displaced before they are approved for either a Section 8 or have alternative housing beforehand. It's not like they're just going to get tossed out into the wind.
No,
Right?
no one will be made homeless as a result of this.
Okay.
HUD mandates that we, find suitable replacement housing. And we won't move forward if we aren't issued the vouchers.
Okay. And is it
Yeah,
also, oh, go ahead.
Well, and I'll just add that, we're going through this right now with 50 households at Hillside Park, and it's not easy. There have been, despite our best efforts to engage with households over a year, there have been some folks that had a hard time engaging with us. These are households that are under a lot of stress, just like many of us, and more, right? They're low-income households. Some of them have disabling conditions. It's been hard for folks to, come to grips with the fact that the houses are going away at Hillside Park. They're literally going to be redeveloped. They're going away. And we've taken just never give up on our engagement, bring all the resources we can, behavioral health supports, trying to connect them to different resources. And now I think we're down to 1 household at Hillside Park, but the last month has been pretty hard, right? We've had to really lean in and engage with people and do everything that we can to support them. So I don't want to minimize my, talking about the virtues of, the opportunity we have in Clackamas County wasn't meant to minimize the impact that this has on any one of these households, because it really, we get it. I mean, our department is Health, Housing, and Human Services. We serve vulnerable households every day. And we understand that this is tough. And so you have our commitment, certainly, to no one, this won't come as a surprise to anybody. And even, after eventually we'll set deadlines and all of that, but we'll be leaning in every day to make sure that people have the support that they need to live where they want to live.
Thank you.
I was wondering if I could read through the draft or proposed letter of support that they would be looking for, and you could edit it however you want, but this is kind of what they were proposing, and see if it would be something that would meet what your convictions are about this. It says, on behalf of the city of Estacada, I'm writing in support of the scattered sites section 18 disposition application as proposed by Housing Authority, Clackamas County. The Housing Authority seeks to submit a HUD Section 18 disposition application for 6 scattered sites public housing units located in the city of Estacada. The addresses are listed below. This application would permit the Housing Authority to sell the 6 public housing units located in the city of Estacada while ensuring the residents living in the units are successfully relocated with tenant protection vouchers. The authority intends to sell the units into affordable home ownership. The authority will also utilize the proceeds of any sale to either develop or acquire new affordable housing units. We understand the Housing Authority is undertaking an extensive public engagement process to educate existing residents about the upcoming Section 18 application and how they will be supported through this transition. I write to express the City of Estacada's support for the Housing Authority's scattered sites Section 18 application, and it would be signed by the mayor if there's support for that.
All right. Okay, I'll do Jonathan first, then Heidi.
This is also just for point of clarification. You're just asking for a letter from us consenting or agreeing with this. Regardless, you guys are going to attempt to move forward on selling these properties, right? I mean, I do want to make this distinction just for those that watch this later or whatnot, that we are not the deciding force on whether Clackamas County sells its property or does not, or pursues it. They're just asking for our support of if they go that route, essentially, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, I mean, we'd obviously would like your support. And we want to make sure you're aware of the process, and it's part of, one of the requirements of the application to HUD that we consult with the jurisdictions where the units are located.
And this is part of the public education process too, rather than having it all take place at the county. I think having them come talk with you, this becomes more public in Estacada, gives a chance for people to learn about what their program is doing. And so I appreciate you coming and talking to us this evening about this.
Yeah, this is a county matter, though, not the city of Estacada is selling this, to be clear for those
can't
listening
prevent
or
them.
watching that.
Right, we don't
Yes.
have the power to get them into this program, and we don't have the power to prevent them from doing this.
So my question was in the same vein. What I read is that HUD requires that the Housing Authority consult with and receive a letter of support from the local jurisdictions. So you're saying that the letter of support is not required?
It would be much preferred, I'm sure, from HUD.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I'll let Devin specify. It doesn't say that it's required. If we make good faith efforts to engage with the city and secure the city's support, and we don't secure the support in the form of a written letter, there's, a path in the application to indicate as much, but we want the city's support. We want to hear concerns about the individual residents if they come up through this process. We want to work together. We've been, over the last year, 18 months, we've tried in my department, specifically under my leadership, to show up differently with our city partners. And we recently ran a city-led initiatives funding campaign, and part of that was intended to improve our coordination and for you to share the county the specific needs of Estacada and the ways that the county can ensure that its programming is showing up in your community in the way that meets your community's needs, that we think best about that. So the county does have the ability to move forward with this process without a letter of support, but we think the partnership with you all is really important.
Good.
One more
Sure.
thing. What is the timeline? Sorry. What's the timeline on this for you guys to actually take action to start liquidating your assets out here in these scattered houses? Because, I mean, you're saying you want to engage with these tenants or these residents that are currently living there, and I appreciate that sincerely. I know everybody up here does, but I mean, what are we looking at? Do these guys have 14 months, 18 months before? I mean, how far? Because you're just now starting in Clackamas. This is multiple phases. I mean, what realistically here, what are we looking at? Are we looking at a 3 to 5 year timeline, or what are
Yeah, great question. We're looking at a 2-year timeline from HUD approval. So we're hoping to relocate 10 households a month over the course of 24 months.
Thank you.
And Devin, so 10 over 24 months, but when would that commence after we get HUD approval?
Yes, so I mean, we submit the application, we're hoping to submit next month if possible. And then we anticipate it'll take about 6 months to go through that process with HUD. And once we receive approval, then we apply for the tenant protection vouchers. That's about a month-long process. And then we can start relocation. So once we get approval from HUD, our relocation consultant will reach out to households interested in moving right away. So we have folks that are excited to get their voucher. So those will be the folks that move first. And then she'll create a big spreadsheet that shows folks that want to move, when school's not in session, and where they want to move, and start, looking into finding replacement housing. If they want to purchase their home, then, they'll start working with the land trust to move that forward. So, our goal is 2 years to complete the relocation. And I'm sorry, we're planning to move 5 residents per month over the course of those 24 months.
Okay. Just one more comment. Mine's more of advice than a question. I noticed that when you take these people out of these rural areas and you're moving them to housing areas that you have available, that are new, that are, and most of these are apartments. Now you're taking people who have grown used to living in a house out in rural America, enjoying what it has to offer, beautiful little schools and wonderful neighborhoods and all this, and you're moving those people into a mega tower to live the rest of their life. I think if you spent more time focusing on building villages, small homes, things that are more accommodating to these people versus putting them in apartment complexes, you'd have a better response all the way around. Because what you're getting here is you're taking somebody that's used to a lifestyle and you're changing it for them overnight. That's got to be traumatic. And no matter how much money you give them, no matter where you put them, it's always going to be that. And I ask that the county focuses on that going forward, rather than building the mega towers. I get that, but it really doesn't add to the landscape. It sure doesn't give these people that feel of small town and relationship and friendship. So going forward, please note that in this, that focus more on the people and less on the towers. Just my thought on this.
No, and I appreciate that. And there, for these folks in Estacada or even the folks at Hillside Park in Milwaukee, we give them right of first refusal to, so at Hillside Park, for example, people that are being relocated there, they can find a private market unit. That could be an apartment. It could be a single family home that's for rent in the community. They can use the voucher there. They get right of first refusal to return to one of the new units. But if they don't want to return to that new development, they can use that voucher wherever they want. Same goes for the households in Estacada. There's nothing preventing them from finding another rental house. Now, maybe it's a function of what the market will bear, right? I don't know what the private market rental inventory is in Estacada for single family homes. But if they're able to find one, if that's what they want, our relocation folks will help them find that. So they can stay right there. But with regard to these developments, you're right. Some of it is bigger apartment buildings, but we're also getting creative with what the redevelopment looks like. So at Clackamas Heights, for example, there's gonna be some cottage cluster type housing. So it isn't all just large apartment buildings. We're trying to be smart about the mixed housing that we have in the redevelopments.
Okay, thank you. All right, is that all the questions we have today? All right, let's do a roll call vote on this
Or
one.
do we need a motion to support or to not support?
Yeah.
To provide the letter or to not
Yeah,
provide the
so I
letter?
need a motion on the floor. Do I have a motion? Support.
Make a motion to move in support of the letter.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, can I do roll call, please?
Yes.
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 No.
No.
Yes. Okay, we thank you for giving us all this information. Good luck going forward. It's going to be a tough run. A lot of tears will be shed, I'm sure. So strengthen your heart because it's not easy what you do. So thank you.
Yes,
Thank you so much for having us here. And if as additional questions come up, we're happy to answer them or come back before you anytime.
Okay, great.
And I'll forward some questions over from our DEI committee that I think you'll be able to answer probably relatively quickly. So, thank
All right.
you.
Good. Thanks so much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night, everybody.
Good night.
Okay, we are at the second consideration for ordinance 2024-001, an ordinance recognizing the name and spelling of Ginseng Drive. Okay, so this is the last time around or the second? Are we, this is
Sorry.
the last time around?
Yes, so we just need a motion. This was already approved one time. We just need a motion to.
Okay, can I get a motion on the floor, please?
I move to approve ordinance 2024-001, an ordinance recognizing the name and spelling of Ginseng Drive.
Second.
You got a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Next, we have the Water Management and Conservation Plan adoption. I'll let you speak to that.
Sure. And we should have Amy Levenhagen and Ed Hodgetts from Kern McLeod who will be coming on to speak to it. The Water Management Conservation Plan helps us manage water loss and conserve water. I'm sure you were, most of you were aware that last summer we were running the plant some days 21 hours in order to keep up with the water demand. And so we're hoping that you will take a look at the plan. There's two actions I would like from you. One is, if you so choose, to move staff to develop an ordinance updating the city's water code with the stages of alerts, triggers, and actions for water curtailment. That would help us this summer to have requirements for actions if or when we reach certain levels of water production or capacity. And then the other is potential to work with Steve Donovan to do a tiered water consumption plan. So generally what that would look like is you'll have a base block. So let's say it's 7,000 gallons, and then a usage above that would get charged a premium rate to kind of discourage financially overconsumption of water in the summer months. And then I think Ed and Amy can speak a bit more about the plan.
All right. You're on.
Hi, folks. My name is Edward Hodges, and I'm one of the principals and the owners of Kern McLeod. And actually, I will really let Amy step up. She's done a great job on this report, and she's handled quite a few of these types of conservation plans, and I will just assist her as she goes.
Hi, so Estacada needed the water conservation plan for several reasons, but one was specific to this, what they're asking for today, which is to be able to have some guidelines for curtailing water in the summer months or any high use times that they get dangerously close to meeting their production. Their
the pumps in the system have a capacity that can't be exceeded. And so being able to curtail water in the summer is really important. So we have a whole list of guidelines, and I think you have a copy of the curtailment plan. It lists four alert levels, each with their own trigger.
That starts on page 113 of your packet, the curtailment plan. Did we lose Amy?
No, I'm still
Okay.
here, but
Okay.
the guidelines or the triggers themselves are, you really kind of have to read them and maybe if you have questions, ask me specifically about that. I'm not really sure what your questions might be. I don't want to really go overboard and start describing too much of this section of the report unless people, really have questions about it.
You seem to be cutting in and out a little, Amy. And so we might have some extra questions. Maybe if we have trouble hearing you, Ed could answer them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so questions? Do I have any right off the bat?
I just want to confirm that this is a short-term thing. This will not, after we build this water tank tentatively next summer or whatnot, is this?
No, this will be a long term. So if we start at the very kind of the beginning of this, the plan shows that as we grow, this is a 20-year plan, that as the population grows, we only have limited a number of water rights, and we need to find ways both to decrease leakage and to conserve water in order in the long term to stay within our water rights.
The big thing was, I think we discussed this a little bit, but we feel a lot of questions from the HOA and the requirements from them.
Yeah.
This will supersede HOA requirements for the communities, correct?
No, so this is where things get just a little bit complicated. So we can't prohibit an HOA from finding their members because a homeowners association is a contractual agreement between a series of homeowners. But what we could do would be to find an HOA that finds its members during a stage 1 water event. And we wouldn't want to do that. I mean, the goal would be just to raise public awareness to understand that, whether it's super hot or whatever it is, or maybe they could, to the extent they water first thing in the morning versus at noon. But it's just to raise awareness that we're starting to have capacity issues and then demonstrate the cities. So the city's the first one to stop watering. And then as things become more pressing, we would have more power to take action. Just so that people that need water for essential services are able to get it. And we have more water right now than we're using, but we're going to need some more equipment and things of that nature in order to get that. So that portion of it is a little bit of a stopgap. And then I don't know whether you guys will want to do the tiered system or not. The way that Steve Donovan has done that in every other jurisdiction I've seen him do it is there's that base rate that like 80% of your people will use that or under. And then people that have a swimming pool or people that have like an acre or elaborate landscaping or what have you that use a lot more water, then they would pay the rate for the base unit, and then beyond that they would pay more. And I've seen cities with as many as 5 different levels, so that the water hogs, as they're referred to, are water wasters. I mean, they're usually quite wealthy and willing to pay it. But they're paying a higher level because they're using proportionally so much more water. So that's kind of the dual approach, and that extra revenue then will help pay for improvements to the system that would allow the city to draw more water. But Yeah, this part of what this would do is just allow us to get word out that we're hitting this, yellow level and then orange level and then red level.
If we fine the HOAs, can we refund that back to the tenants that are being fined by the HOAs to cover the fees? So that it's just a cycle, because the tenant's paying the fee to the HOA, we fine the HOA, give it back to the tenant.
Yeah, I mean, our hope would be that the HOAs would be cooperative and just understand. We know that people love the green lawn, but
is it legal?
We can find the HOA. We can't prevent them from, oh yeah, we could do a grant program we could do a hardship program too for people that,
So the infrastructure committee looked at this. It was Amy put it together, I should say, and then Dawn, Chris, and Elena went through it with a fine tooth comb as far as each stage. And then it was presented to the infrastructure committee. Did they make any, they didn't make any changes, right?
No, they did not make any changes towards this section of the plan.
And the way that it's set up, last summer, for instance, we would have had one time, is that right? I couldn't find the numbers on there. But we have to hit 1.4 million 3 days in a row, which we'll like have a spike and then it kind of comes back down. So one time last summer, we would have hit 1.4 million 3 days in a row. That would have put us into stage 1, which means we halt watering lawns on public property. No outdoor watering during daylight hours, and public are asked to water lawns no more than twice a week. We have to take out that HOAs cannot fine. So we'd have to take that line out. We voluntarily restrict car washing and filling pools and fountains. We reduce hours and days for the splash pad, and news releases and newsletters and more public information would be going out. So that's what would happen at stage 1. Last summer, that would we hit it 3 days. So then we would have instituted this stage 1, and then the next 3 days we were out of it. So after that third day, we would have said, all right, we're out of stage 1. Thank you for your cooperation. And then we continue tracking it. So I'm not sure what's going to happen this year. And we don't really know till we try it, but I think that that stage 1 will help us to reduce our water use, as well as locating where people are potentially using water that is not running through a meter, and also some leaks that we can work on that will help. Stage 2 asks users to curtail use by 20%. I'm not quite sure how people would track that. But I guess give it a good effort would be what that is. Halt watering planters on public property. No vehicle washing, no watering lawns. The splash pad would be closed. But what triggers that is if we're at 90% of our production capacity. So that would be at 1.8 million, I think, because if we can produce 2, once we get this upgrade done.
It is or, so it is either 90% of production capacity or 1.5 MGD for three consecutive days. Yes.
Right. So we're hearing from other cities that this works well. We're also hearing that the tiered level of cost works well. We're asking you, what do you think we can tolerate? We're not in dire straits right now, but we want to maybe start working on this so that, because we only have 2.6 total at this point, and we haven't quite figured out how to get more at this point. So there's also, after those 2 stages, there's a stage 3, which is critical. I don't see us getting there anytime soon, but was there, and stage 4, did I miss stage 4? Next page, an emergency. So what we could do is take this, put it into code, and bring it back to you as an ordinance.
And have it reviewed by Peter. We understood from last summer that you wanted some way to manage HOAs. And the language that was included in here, Peter reviewed it tonight, is like, that's not. But we will develop some language such as the fining for the HOAs, have it reviewed by Peter before we bring the code back to you for the next meeting, if that's still a priority for you all.
Okay, questions?
Okay, I'll go Mike, Jonathan, Charity.
is, just so I understand the tiered system, a one-bedroom house with one tenant gets the same amount of water at the same price as a 5-bedroom house with eight people in it, a big family of kids. They have the same amount of water before they start paying more as one person in a single bedroom house.
That's how I understand it.
Yes, so how it normally works is that they look at the water use for different homes and we establish a baseline of like 60% of the homes in Estacada and home being a dwelling unit. So whether it's a studio apartment, if someone likes to take really, really long showers, or like someone with like a home that if you use under however many gallons, then you pay this baseline. And then then there's a second tier. So let's say the baseline's like 10,000 gallons. The price for that is, I'll just say $25. I'm just making up numbers. Then from gallon 10,001 to whatever the top of that unit is, then maybe that rate is 50. And so the idea is that the people that are using proportionally more of the water it's kind of like taxes. Like the more money you make, you get the bracket ride. So on your first 20,000, you get whatever, and then on the next 20,000, it's whatever, and then you get up so that you have people paying the highest rate. In some jurisdictions I've represented, it's turned out that there's 3 or 4 people in the city that use like disproportionately very large amount of water. And so that last tier is for a very limited number of people that are generally most able to pay it. And it encourages conservation. The cities that I've represented also all have a system where if someone has a water leak that they're not aware of, that would trigger a large bill, that they're able to come before the city council and, say, had a leak, plumber came out, here are the invoices, it got fixed. And in those jurisdictions, the city will usually reduce the water rate down to something.
Yeah, we already have
Yeah.
that, and it doesn't have to come before council. We already have that, an internal procedure, and it's in our code that for leaks.
We would like to potentially add something that if someone has a leak that doesn't get repaired after, say, 90 days, that there's some kind of a incentive to get them to repair a leak if it's over. I don't know if it would be over a certain amount. We'd have to kind of flesh that out a little bit,
But yeah, currently in our code, the wastewater code says if there's a leak, we will notify them that there's a leak. They have 30 days to repair it, or else we will repair it. I'm sorry, our sewer, not our waste, but our water code does not have anything in it that requires people to repair leaks. And so we would also like to bring that back, some kind of requirement that requires people to repair leaks.
Jonathan?
So I understand the tier system and I appreciate you guys clarifying that. My question is more in clarity for like, what are the conditions that would get us to where you're seeing these numbers, like where it would go code orange or whatnot to trigger it? What would that typical day look like? Because my concern also then leads to this community has a history of natural disasters striking at this very time. Now, I understand people on the outside of town are on a well and they can water at their leisure. However, when we're talking about shutting down the city, water in parks and different things like that, my mind tends towards the cigarette butt that gets tossed out of a car by somebody uncaring, even not from our community, or a transient individual coming into our parks and stuff like that. And if we're not watering for weeks at a time because of water conservation, you see where my mind goes with this on that. What are our practices? Because are we at a place where we're closing public access to our parks and stuff because of safety concerns? Of what, like, have we talked to Clackamas County on increasing?
So I will say one thing we did see during the fires is that people were they were out there watering, their roofs, their lawns to try and protect. And we did not have enough water capacity for fire flow. So at that point, we had reached emergency status and we were going down and having to shut people off because we could not maintain fire flow, which is part of why we're building the high level reservoir and we've increased the pump stations. So we have reached that capacity before, and it has been because of a natural disaster.
Okay.
There are things that we can, I mean, if we decided to move forward with, say, a fire-wise community, there are options for, landscaping that is less likely, that is fire resistant, options for things that you can do to maintain your house, such as sidings and roofings that would be more resistant to fire, that have nothing to do with whether you water your lawn or not.
Right. I just think of the public spaces as well, though, because if we're going to be talking about putting it to where people can't wash their cars, when I definitely think we should take into consideration the park catching on fire or something out of the ordinary and adding to the.
Yeah, so by doing things, if we decided that the park was, we're gonna stop watering the park, we could switch the park from, say, grass to clover, which doesn't require as much water and stays green without the constant watering that like a triple rye does. So there are options that we can do in the park space that would change how our parks look, but would make our parks more fire resistant and would still fit within the water curtailment plan.
And this isn't something that's gonna happen overnight. This is something we're kind of working our way
Yeah.
into.
I'm just asking for points of
but yeah.
clarification. That's all.
So in the past, what times a year, I mean, are we just talking like where we've hit these thresholds in capacity? Is it like July through September? Is it,
July, August. 2 years ago, that June, in fact, if you go to page in your packet, which page is it on? Starting on page 126, it shows you what the daily flows were. The first sheet is 2023, so last year. And you can kind of see, in May, not an issue. In June, we're over 1 million gallons a day, but still not too bad. July, that's when it got up there a little higher. August, and then it starts to taper down. We have a few days in September that are under 1 million, and it kind of tapers off. And then if you go to 2022, when we had that super rainy June, where it rained all month, you can see that we're not even close to 1 million gallons a day in that June. So it depends on the weather. It depends on our growth. It depends on how much, how many people really want to water outside, or if we can really dial it in. In fact, who were we talking to? They were saying that at first, like, everybody just stopped watering everything. And then
I think Hermiston, was it Hermiston that said that in the first year that their summer water use was down 30%?
something like that, yeah. And then they figured out, okay, this is how I can water. I can keep things alive, but I don't have water, running down the sidewalk
and I'm not watering in the middle of the day, in the heat of the day, where you're losing a lot of it to evaporation. I mean, the stage one is a lot of, I think, education and kind of,
we need to do that.
common sense, don't water in the middle of the day because you're going to lose a lot of it to evaporation.
So if you want to think about it, a little
I'd
more.
like to comment on it real quick,
Okay.
if I could. This almost seems ridiculous, and I'll tell you why. We're not slowing down growth. We're not saying we're going to stop development, right? But yet we're saying we can't use water. We have to slow down our usage of water because we can't produce enough, right? That's what I'm getting from this. So it's not a lack of water. It's a lack of production, right? That's what this all amounts to, that we're talking about right now. Right now, the reason for this is lack of production, right?
The reason for this right now is the production and yes. So right now the plant can produce about 1.8. We're doing some minor upgrades that'll get it up to 2.0 MGD. And so right now it is lack of production, upgrading the plant. And I know Amy and Ed, I don't think are quite far enough along, but I'm guessing upgrading the plant to be able to produce the full water rights is gonna be probably upwards of $10 million, and that's just my guess. I'm sure Ed.
That's not a bad guess. Yeah, it's gonna be
Okay.
significant. Cause
And so this conserving water would also save us money, because obviously we're gonna be putting a large bill on our ratepayers by building the wastewater plant. And if we can push off having to build upgrades to the water treatment plant for a few years by conserving water in the summer on our peak days, that would help us save money.
Okay, again, I ask you, are we slowing down development to accommodate that?
We
haven't yet.
Yeah, we
We
haven't
haven't,
yet,
right?
but we get to the point in our water plan where we will not have enough water, we'll have to stop development. So we would have to do a moratorium similar to if we reach the capacity for the wastewater plant.
So prior to getting to a moratorium, we would have to demonstrate that we had gone through water conservation efforts, because if we don't have the conservation efforts, then the state's position is, because the state's position is they don't want a moratorium. So we would need to have a strong record demonstrating all the things that we did to try and get at this issue short of a moratorium.
It seems to be that it's a catch-22 here.
Yeah.
They won't let us slow it down unless we put the conservation in place, which controls the water usage that's never going to go away. And it's just more control over the people that live in those developments. Now, you know, and I know a person coming to the Estacada area to buy a house is not going to buy a house that's lined with sagebrush and cactus that are water resistant. So we're going to gain more lawns, more bushes, more everything. What we should be considering going forward here is a green act that puts trees in development, that puts more shade, more, you know, things that prevent evaporation, and look at cooling our city down and still growing. So it seems like we're hitting this from the wrong angle, but that could just be me. But I just wanted to make that statement going forward. So let's, any more questions? Mike?
Before jumping into the tiered system, I'd like to see the top 20 water users during those peak months, if it's the same 20 households that's using that water. And then I'd like to see whatever tiered system you're proposing applied to a peak month,
Yeah.
and look at who that impacts. Just thinking about it, it would seem like family households with kids are going to be disproportionately impacted by it, as opposed to a single person in a house. So the people and those people may be struggling just as much as the family that's taking care of several children. But if it's disproportionately affecting larger households that have a lot bigger bills to deal with multiple kids in the household, I'd be concerned about that.
So what we're asking tonight is not for you to approve a rate plan. It's for us to direct Steve Donovan to do that research for us.
So what I've seen in other jurisdictions is that the reason there's all the additional watering in the summer is because of landscaping. So it's not actually the size of the family, and there isn't even a correlation between the size of the house and the amount of water. What it is the size of the yard. So do they have a pool? And then, you know, do they have landscaping that needs a lot of water? And if they do, then those homes' water use during the summer goes up dramatically as compared to, you know, folks with a small yard. It's all like landscaping and pools. So it's the size of the lot definitely matters, and the size and whether that lot is heavily scaped.
If we can have a system where we can try to strongly encourage HOAs to not find people and allow, that would help people to save money also, if there's these people who are being required to work very hard to keep their yards green. But maybe, you know, some people want to, some people don't want to. I don't know. And I guess that's the purpose of a HOA. The HOA says, hey, we all agree we want our lawns green, until people are struggling to pay their water bills. But this, I think, would help eliminate some of that. So there's really two questions. Can we put together a potential code for the conservation plan for the with the stages of alert, triggers, and actions for water curtailment. And then do you want us to work with Steve to say what would a tiered rate look like? Who would this impact? And bring that information back to you? You want to do one or the other or both? Yes.
And the, we would like to add code language that requires people to repair their leaks, which I think should be.
Do Amy and Ed, do you have anything else to add?
Speaking at Hodges, I don't, you guys are actually, it's a really good discussion. I am an engineer. I've been doing this for 30 years and I'm learning just listening here. So no, I think right now, let's Amy, what are your comments?
I guess I feel the same, that the city seems to have a really good handle on what is the problem, and the fact that so much of it is outdoor watering, that, you know, it seems to me that what we put together for conservation, you know, is almost secondary to what the city is seeing as needs in their code and their just their what they're voting on tonight. I don't have anything to add.
Okay, thanks, Amy.
Okay. Jonathan?
I'm in support of Steve Donovan doing the research. I like what Councilman McElroy said about, I'd like to see the top 20 or 25, even 50 users during peak months. And I'd like to see a study showing, you know, giving us real-time results on who this would impact and how. And then for just an additional comment, when we're discussing stuff like this, I think we should maybe extend an invite to State Representative Heeb and some of these other state representatives that are in charge of our district, and have them come sit in this audience so that they can help answer our community's questions on why we're talking about development and mental health crises and stuff like that, but why there's not more legislation on the floor to improve our infrastructure, because these are the demands that are affecting our community, our pocketbooks, our people now. I mean, yet again, we're having another conversation talking about how can we justifiably and fairly increase more cost to our consumers over water. I mean, there's a point here where there's got to be a line, and I would like to extend an invite to the senators, to state representatives, whoever, to come and sit here and explain to us why there's not more conversation about infrastructure.
Okay, so I think that's all the questions. Are there any more? All right. So what are you looking for exactly? You want to vote on this? You want to?
Go to page 85. There's a couple of motions. You could use those motions. You could do the antithesis of those motions.
And what was not included in those motions is to move staff to develop, to update the ordinance requiring leak repair. That was just brought to my attention this morning talking to Taryn, and so I apologize that it wasn't included in this.
So 3 questions.
Yeah, so one is, do you want staff to develop an ordinance with the water curtailment plan? Do you want staff to update our current ordinance requiring the leak repair? And then do you want staff to work with Steve Donovan on a tiered water to investigate the tiered water?
What's the cost of that?
We have funding left in our current contract with him. So it's within the budgeted amount that we already budgeted for his costs for the rate study.
Okay. You've heard the motions.
I move to have staff develop an ordinance updating the city's water code with the stages of alert, triggers, and actions for water curtailment, adding a stipulation for mandatory leak fixing.
That works.
Does that work?
Is that?
Yeah, we know what you mean.
We know what you mean. Yeah.
Okay.
Outstanding.
Okay, all right,
Not so good with words.
all right. Do I have a second for that one?
A second.
Okay, first and second. Let's do a roll call vote on that, please.
Are we also adding move to direct staff work with Steve Donovan tiered consumption?
That's a separate.
That was separate.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yes,
The first one with the
Yes.
stipulation of adding the.
Oh, yes.
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 Yes. I know, I did too.
I was confused. I thought
I
we-
was confused.
All right, this one's a little bit more cut and dry, so I move to direct staff to work with Steve Donovan on a tiered consumption water rate plan.
Okay, also a roll call vote, please.
I second.
Okay, got a first and a second.
Yes,
Yes.
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 No.
Thank you, Ed and Amy.
All right, we appreciate you. And thanks for being there for us for those questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Quick on the draw, Sadie.
Is the city doing anything for education for if outdoor water usage is the biggest drain? Do we partner with any like landscape companies to get like a service tech? A lot of the
so-
HOAs, like when we moved into our house, we have automatic watering. And I don't know if I need 15 minutes or 60 minutes of water. I just went with what was already on my timer when I moved in. The grass looked good.
Yeah,
But I had our lawn care guy said that our lawn was getting way over watered,
Mhm.
that it was just like creating moss and stuff like that.
yeah.
And so he adjusted it for me.
So
But I think that would be a huge help.
there's an option. We're part of the Clackamas River Water Providers, and through that coalition, they can do a free landscape audit. And we promoted this a lot last year. You just call the number, they send someone out, they go through your landscape, they go through your irrigation system. They suggest changes in timing. One of the things that when the city did it is they suggested this special module that we could put on our clock that tells when it's rained so that it doesn't water on the days that it's rained. And so there's a bunch of different options that they'll come out and do for you for that.
I think we should put a big focus. I'd like to see a big focus like the top 200 water users that we directly like market to them, the opportunity for them to have someone take a look at it.
Okay,
You know, I think that'd be a good idea. if we
Yeah.
can Get that to go down.
Community engagement, I think, could be key on this. Educate them.
Yeah, everybody's busy and it's kind of the last thing on your list sometimes, but I think it will help, help save water, help reduce people's water bill and yeah. Okay. That's everything on that one, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
yes,
Done
thank
with
you.
that one?
Yes.
Okay, next on our list, we have ordinance 2024-003, an ordinance amending Title II, Administration of Personnel of the City of Estacada Municipal Code related to city committees.
Okay, thank you. On this, just real briefly, the council's been planning the addition of the Economic Development Commission and then some other modifications to other committees. And so this code that's in your packet makes those changes. In the staff report, I highlighted some things that were of special note that I really wanted to call out. And so if you have questions about any of those, I think I'll just start with questions rather than boring you by walking through it since we've been here a couple hours already. So if you have questions on recommendations, or you don't like what I did putting this together, just let's talk about that the specifics.
Okay. Looks like I've got Heidi first, I'm not sure.
I think we talked about further defining the age of youth for that.
Yes, that is a good question. I would like to put that on, rather than in the code, I'd like to put that on the application. And so this, we could do that right now real quickly, not to bog down on that, because I'm not going to put it in the code, but what were you thinking of youth? Is that like 14 to 18? So they're high schoolers? Is it 14 to 20? So that includes maybe folks in community college, but once they're an adult, they could regularly be on the committee easier. So I don't know, what were you thinking? Did you want to?
I mean, there's nothing in our code that says they can't serve on any committee as a youth right
They
now,
could.
except for the budget committee, which says that they have to be a elector of the city. They could serve as a youth as on any committee right now.
Can we use the broad term, high school aged?
We could do that potentially, because sometimes they might be 19 still wrapping up their high school.
Yeah.
Is that that's kind of the age range you're thinking of?
Does that include people that aren't in high school? I think it'd be better with just like 12 to 17 or whatever the age group is that you're looking for. High school aged, is that saying that someone that's attending high school?
Well, no, it's just a broad term. I don't know. Was just a suggestion. I didn't really put a ton of thought into it.
Oh.
Just trying to,
So that would be one option. You
Yeah.
could say local high schoolers attending or homeschool.
could we tie
okay.
this, somehow tie this into the DEI's youth council and include those people, the youth council, make them these liaison or the liaisons, I'm not
So
sure how that would-
the way that, so the DEI committee is researching youth councils, and how some of them work would be that they have this liaison position on these advisory boards. And then they also, all these liaisons get together on a regular basis to kind of confer and connect. And in some cities, they have projects that all the youth will organize together. So maybe it's a city cleanup day, or it's, public art or whatever that the youth council organizes. But they do serve on these as a liaison on the advisory committees.
I think that could connect, because I think trying to assemble a youth council, we haven't had a lot of success with in the past. But if we can get a youth member appointed to each of our advisory committees, and then they're engaged, and then they work with the DEI as a youth council, and that way they might kind of feed into each other in that regard. The way that I put it here was just to, I'm not sure what page that was on, to one non-voting youth member may be appointed to each advisory board for a term of 1 year in order to promote civic engagement and inclusion of youth voice. The youth member may participate in all discussions and may serve as a volunteer for any event or project the committee is working on. So I kind of tied it to each committee, each advisory board.
And they'll be appointed by the council.
Yes.
The same way that regular committee members are.
Yeah, and we'd put on, so should I just put, if you're thinking high school age, maybe I should I don't know if you want to hit junior high also, or if you want to start at 14. Go
It's
through
like
19.
12 to 17, 12 to 17, or 12 to,
Or grades, if you want to capture the older students at the high school, 7th through 12th grade, I think about 7th grade is a good age for kids to
Okay.
start getting interested. It'd be nice to see some perspective for some younger kids too.
Okay.
Okay.
and make sure, just to make sure that we're also putting it out there for the satellite schools,
Yeah,
Right.
the homeschools, the
Summit Charter.
Yeah, Summit
Yeah.
Charter, Timberlake Job Corps, they have youth that participate in that too, who
It
are
would be
working
open
on
to
getting
the
their GED.
school district would be the restriction, not city limits, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be good.
Okay, so 7th through 12th grade. And they'll fill out an application, come to council to get appointed.
Yeah.
It'll be a good experience for them, I think.
We need-
Okay, all right, so back to any other questions on the code?
Charity, you have a question?
Well, I'd like to have a discussion about the allowing budget committee members to serve on other committees, because I know that was a point of concern a couple of years ago, and that's why it was
Yes.
written into the code, and then now we're.
I was proposing that we take that out. I have gone through, or I've tried to go through scenario after scenario to try to come up with a time that it would be a conflict of interest for somebody to be on another committee and on the budget committee. And I have failed to come up with any negative impact for that. So if you have situations that you can see where it would actually be a conflict or potential conflict, I'm open to hearing that. We can pull it out. But for instance, we always advertise, try to reach out to get new folks to get on budget committee. It's kind of a nice introductory way, because you work on the budget with them for a couple of weeks, answer their questions. They come to a meeting, they can kind of get their feet wet. But if it gets down to the wire, and for instance, this time we had 3 vacancies still, it's kind of nice to be able to tap somebody from a different committee and say, hey, can you help us out here? Just sit in on this, look at the budget, help us have oversight on this. And so that's,
And yeah, and we lost 2 people from the budget committee that served on other committees that did
Mhm.
not have a budgetary impact,
Maybe
the planning
3.
commission and the infrastructure committee. So
Mhm.
neither one of those committees have a budgetary impact. They don't request funding. But because they served on those, they could no longer be
Right.
on the budget committee.
So I just couldn't, if you have a scenario where that would be an actual, or would be a problem, I would love to hear it. And, or if you just are uncomfortable with it, that's fine, we can pull it out. I just couldn't come up with any situation where it actually would have been a problem.
Is the budget committee reviewing the expenditures of the different committees?
Not specifically.
No.
They'll review the whole budget. They provide the spending limits for the full budget. So they don't delve down into each. So overall, they would be approving those, but the same way that the council is approving budget for other projects that are going to go on. And then if it's over $25,000, it comes back to you and you approve the contract. And so it's kind of, to me, it's kind of the same thing.
Well, it's connected in a way.
What was the original concern? Like, what started the conversation to have it stricken?
Concern of the budget committee approving the funding for the committees. So like, say you're on the Parks Committee and you're asking for money, and then being on the budget committee that's approving the funding.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what.
That was the
That's
concern.
the
That's what
original-
that's what
Yes.
started the conversation. The
But,
initial-
I
that
mean,
was
there-
the-
there's
and
what- there-
transparency came up a bunch of times in the conversation.
And I
Thank you.
think you can look at an example right here. In fact, we have one applicant from what I can see, Denise Carey, right? Denise Carey was our old city manager. She did a great job while she was here. We loved her to death. Now we have a new city manager, Melanie, and we have an assistant manager. Now, when you have the older city manager who's got a different perspective of the way things should go, what should be funded, what shouldn't be funded, coming on to a committee such as the budget committee, with the new city manager sitting up there, no, you don't have a vote, but you're still there, and assistant city manager, I asked myself, does that make sense? Because you've got a lot of competing theories here. It's like I was watching the infrastructure the other day, just to give you an example. And you're talking about the street in front of the fire department, a one-way. And the old city manager says, oh yeah, you can throw the stripes in. The new city manager says, no, you can't. I got to look into the budget on that one. I got to see if I can do that. Can we afford it? These are the things we have to look out for, because this is conflicting with what its initial purpose is for. So this is what I want us to really consider moving forward on this. So I ask that you take a look at this before you agree to combine committees like that, just the budget committee. I'm not worried about any of the other committees. It's all fine, but the budget committee is a big deal. It determines the money for Estacada, where it goes, what pot it fills in. I mean, it's a big deal. So please consider that before you vote on this issue. And that's all I have to say on that.
I think if there's a struggle to fill seats when the budget committee is meeting, that we could put language in there that would allow us to pull from committees to fill those spots, but they wouldn't be permanent spots on the committee. They wouldn't serve. It's just an emergency thing so that we're able to fill spots that are needed, so that we have a full committee when we're reviewing the budget and pull people in, but that wouldn't eliminate the requirement for not being on the budget committee and other committees. And the council could pick those people.
I do kind of want to go over process a little, because tonight, all of the committees and commissions presented their work plans and their budgets. And at this point, council at any point could have said, we don't like what's in your budget. You're going to have to amend this budget. Because we combine all those into like one pot of funds and goes into the budget. So you all see the budgets before it even goes before the budget committee. So I just wanted to clarify that. So if there's any confusion about
But
process.
at that time, we can make a correction
Yes.
on the budget
Yes,
based upon whatever it is we feel needs to be changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we do have control at either side of that.
yes, you have control at either side. So just, you have control before it would even go to the budget committee. So if there was somebody serving on, say, the Parks Committee and the Budget Committee, you could look at their budget when they presented tonight and say, I'm concerned about this before it even went to the Budget Committee.
Any other question?
So there's what, 13 members of the budget committee usually? 14. You know, I mean, having a committee member from another committee, that one vote isn't gonna, isn't gonna make the decision. I was against, taking them off I was against this in the first place. I just don't see it being an issue, and I don't see it being an issue in this, in the future. So it's my opinion.
Anybody else?
I'm with Councilman McElroy on this. I think that there's a way that we could do it where you could just add language to pull from a committee with a council approval if needed to make a quorum or whatnot. But I think I'm in favor of leaving that excluded. Like if your attention is on that, that's what it's on.
Charity.
I'd like to just, I'd like to pull it. I'm open to, okay, this is not staying on. I'm open for, if we've got a couple of seats that are, need an emergency fulfillment for temporary basis, that's a good idea and a good middle ground that we can come to. But I'd like to, I would prefer that if you're going to sit on the budget committee, that you're not sitting on another committee. Just for transparency's sake, because I know you can make those changes during the budget when you actually have the budget meeting. And I just feel more comfortable with that.
Yeah, and I think Mike's idea is doable. I really do. I think it's a compromise in a sense, if needed, but it doesn't determine its fate altogether.
So let's leave, and when we come to the motion, then let's leave that number 8 under 2.14040 in there. I don't know how to phrase that to add in like other members at this point, so I don't want to mess up the rest of I'll have to consider that, but we could always bring it back unless Sadie has a.
If we have vacancies needed, we select those to qualify. And they would just make the motion, but we're going to vote.
Okay.
Or you could add accept as needed on an emergency basis.
Oh, I like
that.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Knew we had.
So what is the park submitting for their budget then? If it's not in the packet that they presented tonight, then what? And we don't know where the money's being spent. How is that going to the budget committee?
It is,
It
it's
is in the packet.
proposed for 13,700.
I just must have been going over it or something. Keep
You were
going,
on-
missing it. I kept going
Budget
back.
packet too, that comes out.
Yeah.
And they give us the book. It'll be-
Yeah, it's like $13,700, something like that. It's
In the
clear.
committee update
Yeah.
section.
Yeah.
I
sorry, I
kept scanning back and forth. I kept
didn't
missing it.
see it,
missing it,
missed it.
yeah.
I'll try to find the page.
58. Thank you.
And we'll get our
I
budget.
probably just
packet.
missed it.
Okay.
I would just add that I think that with keeping the budget committee separate, it just keeps things.
Thank you.
I like the word transparent, but I also like that you can't have any other kind of intent. You can't show favoritism towards something that is you're personally connected with, like a park project that is going to be coming. I think you just leave that cut and dry. We appreciate all of our committee and all of our committee members, but I mean,
Sure do.
let's make it to where we don't got to put them in a position to even compromise integrity, so.
I agree. All right, so the motion, you heard the motion. We're just gonna keep it as, you're gonna bring it back to us in a different sense?
We
or-
we'll just make the correction now. The only other thing that had not been fully discussed before was that removal of the infrastructure and combining their duties into the planning commission. And I think it was pretty clear how he did that in there. So if there's no questions on that, we'll just.
Are the utilities still going to be represented on the planning? Is there going to be seat? I didn't see. that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they
Got
will have a non-voting seat at the table with the planning commission, so they can attend if they wish and participate in discussion, but not be a voting member.
Good.
All right, and then, so the motion in this case would be that you would move to adopt the ordinance with the addition of except as needed in an emergency for number 8 under 2.4040. I said that right? Okay.
So motioned.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? Yeah, first and
Gonna
second.
write it.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, and for the ages, remind me, we said 7th through 12th grade, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll write that down. Sorry.
It's
I
gonna be
wrote down
kind of
different
exciting.
page.
Can't wait to see those young.
I
people in
know,
there.
I'm excited too.
It's a good way to get them engaged. We are now on citizen and community group comment.
Actually, there's one, the last thing was that one that you wanted to discuss at the beginning, the budget.
Oh,
committee.
the budget. committee.
So under the, with the understanding, because when I spoke with the budget, with the infrastructure committee last Monday, I let them know that we were going to be looking at changing those or changing the duties. And so that day was the last day to apply to be on the budget committee. So Denise, who, just in case the infrastructure committee didn't go forward, then she would no longer be on a committee. She wanted to apply for the budget committee. So that is the application. We still have 2, I think, open seats, but Denise did apply for one of the open seats that we had. If you would like to appoint her for the.
Is she still on the planning or is she off planning?
Nope, she's not on planning. She was on infrastructure and budget, I think was all, yeah. So she dropped off budget so she could be on infrastructure, but at this,
Now you've cut infrastructure, so
so
she
we're,
is not
she'd
on
like
any
to be
committees.
on the budget committee. Which I do hear
It's
what
just-
you're saying.
It's
I
really
think-
hard watching you guys banter back and
I
forth
apologize. I'll try
on
to.
who is right, who is wrong, who knows what, who doesn't. To me, I'm not saying any of you have the same opinion, is a conflict. Okay, you have an ex-city manager who has their own opinion of what should drive forward, a new one who's building their reputation and going forward with their plan, and then an assistant sitting next to her who's probably got the same plan as you do, I hope.
Yeah.
It just, it says to me, traffic jam. Only because you guys are all very knowledgeable. We know that. I know I've known Denise forever. She's very smart. You're very smart. Lenny is very smart. But you all are not exactly the same. You all have a difference a little bit on that. Will that conflict on what we got going forward? And is it a conflict? Because you guys all, I mean, pardon the expression, but Denise knows where all the bodies are buried. Okay, so I know it seems a little graphic, but in all actuality, it says to me problem.
She has a phenomenal memory. You can ask her anything and she will remember, and I will have to say, I will get back to you. But I feel like I don't feel like we have an issue with that. I think that we can work well together. So if you're uncomfortable with it, that's fine. But I think that I appreciate your concern. I think we would do fine with it. She's one member of a very large committee. But whatever you guys are most
But
comfortable
she's
with.
not very small. I mean, when
She
Denise
does have-
talks, you
she
listen,
know-
right?
I know, she
So her
knows.
poll is a lot more than you think.
She's a
I know.
leader.
I've sat in many a meeting there over the years.
She definitely is a leader. So whatever you're most comfortable with is fine with us.
All right.
I think old guard, new guard. I mean, it's time for you to step up and shine like you have been. Continue your work. It's time to let the old guard go and move forward with what we've decided as it is. That being said, publicly, Denise, thank you for everything you've done.
Oh,
For us.
yeah.
This is not a personal
That's not even a question.
thing, but I think it's time for you two to continue your work and move forward with your visions, not representation of the past.
I don't see that Denise being on the budget committee is going to interfere with their jobs at all. We need committee members. I think the last 3-4 budget committees, we've had 3 empty chairs, 2 or 3 empty chairs every single time.
I sit in those budgets. That's not been the case.
Yeah, it has. I think last year there were 2 empty chairs. Year before that, there were 2 or 3 empty chairs. I think it was the same person, at least one of the same people each time. But I mean, this is the only application that we got, and we've got 3 openings. And I think that they can all work well together. I don't think that her being on the committee is going to be an issue. So,
Charity?
I think Denise is a really big personality, and I think that her words carry a lot of weight. And my concern would be that because she was your former superior, in a sense,
that you would still feel the need to kind of do what she says, that would be. And in regards to what needs to happen in the budget. Now, I understand that it's a committee of many people, but you've only been the city manager for a couple years, and I think more time needs to pass in order for you to really like feel grounded as the city manager. I think you would still kind of take a little bit of direction from Denise. I mean, maybe you wouldn't, but that would be hard. I mean, I know what it's like. I sat under people for years, and still to this day, I look at them as, someone in charge of me. But I know this isn't about being in charge or whatever, but it's just, Denise is a big personality, and she's carried a lot of weight in this town, and her opinions matter. And I think a lot of people would follow her direction. Not that I think that she would steer us incorrectly, but I think it's time to just get some new people in, and not super comfortable with it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to point in case to the citizen organized town hall for those of us that were there to answer questions. It was hard to do that on one of the recesses. I know I was approached multiple times by different people saying, let Denise answer questions, let Denise answer questions. She can answer those questions. So, I mean, I've seen it sitting in a meeting where they're trying to ask us questions where Melanie, you weren't present for that, and to know nothing against it, but you weren't there, but they were ready to ask the former city manager questions that we're going to be held to, like binding what our word is. So I think that there's a huge conflict because, I mean, this is current management and former. I'm sorry. It's again.
So, Mike, do you want to add anything to Westburn?
No, whatever Melanie and Elena are comfortable with, I'm comfortable with. I don't see a huge conflict in it, but if everyone agrees, it's not the one I'm going to die on. Hill I'm going to die on.
All right, so you're looking for what at this point?
Either a motion to appoint or just a consensus that you're gonna not appoint, I guess.
All right. I move to appoint Denise Carey to the Budget Committee with the term ending in March 31st, 2026.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, let's do roll call on that one.
No.
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 Yes.
Yes.
No.
Can I, if we're going to potentially appoint on an emergency basis, because it sounds like that was what was approved. We do have some people who were knocked off the budget committee because they serve on other committees. Should we ask them if they would be willing to serve again since they've had experience in that? Because by the time the next council meeting is, the budget committee is literally the next day. So if you were to appoint anybody, we would kind of have to have them have some preparation prior to the appointment.
Right now we have 11 members, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's sufficient. We still have a quorum. It's sufficient. But if you want us to reach out to others, we can do that.
We can do that, yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with being prepared.
I would say send the invitation out to all the committee members
Okay.
that are eligible, that aren't sitting on the budget committee, not just specific ones that had served on it before, and see if what you get for interest, that just so you cast a wide net. would
Okay.
be my thought on it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
in agreement with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm in the right spot, right? We're at citizen and community group comment. Last time around, did you fill out one of the little paper, fill out one of those for us, but you can come up and we'll just do that after the fact.
Yeah, I didn't know had anything to say.
Oh, okay, no, that's good. Good, throw it in.
Make sure to use the microphones. Thanks.
By the way, the word you guys are looking for is pro tempore for the temporary committee assignments. But that's not why I came up. We've got our committee meeting this week. And so like a good boy, I read the packet, and in the packet, it said, among other things, read the packet. but it also said, the information will be out there 72 hours before the meeting. And so it's kind of ironic that I've been trying to find the agenda because I had no idea when I was going to be talking. I've been trying to get the agenda for this particular meeting all week and up to this afternoon, even trying to get the agenda on the main website. I go to meeting and agendas and, it's got the 8th on there, but nothing else. And
You got to click on the public meetings tab. It's a nightmare. The website's a nightmare, but.
well, but I haven't in the past. It's always just click on the meeting and then those 4 boxes fill up and that kind of stuff. And so anyways, the point, I've been trying to do it all week and with no success. And because I was going to attend, I would have read the packet. And so anyways, it seems like there was no public information, and it was kind of some of your comments about, we just got this, people don't know regarding the housing thing. It seems like there was no public information that those topics were going to be covered today. And so there were some freaking big topics covered today. That housing thing is a big deal. And then the water rates thing is a big deal. You're talking about rates, you're talking about fines, you're talking about restrictions. And I heard, I think multiple people say, wanting public comment. We're not getting public comment if they don't know that they need to comment. And if the packet's not out there for the public to read, then you're not going to get it. And so the other thing that got me a little bit regarding the housing was that you needed a decision tonight, and yet the information wasn't out there. And so there was no chance for the public to comment because they had no idea it was coming. And so I just say close by saying, perhaps changing the notice parameters. I don't know where that 72 hours, I don't even know. Actually, I'm new at this. I don't know if the city council has the same kind of rules as the committees do. But, maybe changing that parameter from 72 hours to whatever's reasonable. Because I do remember the one meeting where it was like 900 and some odd pages long. You're not getting through that in 3 days. So anyways, that was it. That was my comment.
I appreciate that. And to fill out one of those request forms before you leave, just so we have it in record. Thank you.
If you hang out after the meeting, I'd like to get with you and just see where you're going on the website too. And I might be able to show you something as well.
Because we've had the meeting posted since last Thursday, but maybe we need to do a little video or something that shows people where to look, because the agendas and minutes is past agendas and minutes. So we need to go to the calendar, but maybe we just need to do some training, because if it's hard for you to find things, then probably other people are doing the same thing.
And it
And
changed when the website used to be, you clicked
Yes.
on agendas and minutes and
Yep.
the new meetings were
Our
on there
new-
now.
Even I
click on
continue to
agendas and
click on
minutes.
the wrong one.
Yeah.
And then I have to,
Public
upcoming meetings, I have to
Yeah.
click.
yes, yeah,
But I'll show you after the.
yeah. And so we can work on helping the public to be able to find that. Because the goal is for them to be able to find it. Yeah,
Do I have
definitely.
anybody online looking to speak? No? Okay. We are now at mayor and council reports and comments. So I will start off with you, Jerry.
So first thing I want to see, how you guys feel about this, but I know I didn't take the opportunity tonight to move over there and face the crowd, but I think that the council should be sitting in the seats facing the crowd, and then that staff should be sitting over here. I just want to see how you guys felt about it. I know Mike's always over there facing the crowd, but yeah, see how you guys felt about it, rearranging it so the council is in that horseshoe, and then staff over here on this side. What do you guys think before
I think we can switch the sides up. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I think to get the cables and electrical you guys need and all the connections, is that going to be a problem moving over to that side versus?
Literally, it's just moving the name tags. Yeah, we can set it
Jerry,
up
you're
however.
actually sitting in my old seat.
And I went through this with them. That's why I'm centered right here.
Yeah.
When the camera comes up, they see who's leading the meeting.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I was over here and you couldn't see.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
get you.
Well, my point is for the people in attendance, because they're always looking at the side of my head, the side of John's head. So,
I like your head. That's a beautiful head.
It's my bad side though. No, but I just wanted to get that out there, but back to my comments. Great discussion discussion tonight. We didn't agree on everything, but I think the decisions that were made were, really what best intentions for the city. Great discussion tonight, as always. Thank you, staff, for putting together another a great agenda and, getting us all, all the information that we not so much wanted, but what you guys could put out there for us. The housing thing, that was a huge thing. And I wish I would have, brought up questions, this morning or, Friday, but I didn't, and that is my bad. I really think that we got a lot of the questions answered. There's still a lot of unanswered questions, but, again, we're putting the letter forward. So in support, which is, great. And I think they're doing a lot of great things for Clackamas County. Again, I don't so much like the high-rise apartments, just like Mr. Mayor said. But I do think that, what they're doing is going to improve housing, unaffordable or affordable housing in Clackamas County. So thank you guys for everything. And thanks for everybody that showed up. And some really in-depth reports tonight from the committees. That was great. Thank you guys.
Okay, John.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody that came, everybody that sat and watched through this online. And then for those that are going to take the time to watch this back, I do appreciate, because I know I get some emails from certain people that watch this later. I appreciate taking the time to do it. I thought we had a great discussion. Thanks for keeping it civil and for arguing. I think it's been really cool to see everybody grow and become better and stronger communicators. And I think it's good for our community to see us up here and have these conversations. I'd like to remind everybody, whether you're going to vote for the school bond or not, whether you're in favor of it or not, to register to vote, to be involved in that vote and make your voice heard. It's a big deal. I'm personally in favor of it. I want to see our kids succeed. So I know the schools put a lot of work into trying to come up with something to help the betterment of our kids' future, and something just new and fresh. And I'm excited to see where we get. I'd like to also thank Clackamas County. I've personally noticed on some more of my jogs and runs and stuff, I've seen Deputy Bigler's guys sitting, especially around the school zones, a lot more and things like that. So I'd like to say thank you. It's very much appreciated. And just everybody stay vigilant. We've had some unfortunate sprees of crime and drugs recently in the community. It's disheartening. I think that we're stronger together. So thank you.
There's a quote from Star Trek from Spock that says the needs of the many outweigh the few. And I think overall that the housing program will be good, making 750 new units from 445. It's going to be good overall. It was really difficult for me to see that, and not our residents. So yeah, so there's that. And then I wanted to remind everybody to register to vote by next Tuesday. And that's the last time I'll be able to remind you guys to register to vote. So then I'll start promoting the Beaver State Fling, which is a disc golf tournament that brings a lot of tourism into Estacada. It's going to be held June 7th through June 9th at Milo McIver.
Thanks for coming out tonight. I want to thank the committees for their really in-depth reports. Just like Councilor Tenbush mentioned, that was probably the best committee report session I've heard since being on council. So, claps for you guys. Yeah, some difficult decisions made tonight. It's never fun saying no to somebody. It's never fun making a tough call on housing. It's never fun telling people what to do with their water, or, just even discussions around that. But I think we were all able to chat about it very civilly, which is we would not have been able to do that 2 years ago. So I'm very thankful that we can walk away from these discussions and all still be friends and have adult conversations about these really tough topics. So again, appreciate you all coming out tonight, and staff, thank you for, putting this all together. And Melanie, your phone calls really are very, very helpful. I really appreciate those calls. They help me a lot with these packets.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Thank you for the committees for all the work they put into their presentations. And yeah, a lot of tough things. On the water thing, I did want to clarify one thing that I agree with the conservation plan and the vote to have Steve do the study for the tiered program wasn't a vote in support of a tiered system. I just want to have all the information to be able to make a decision. So just want to clarify, I just don't want it to get out there that we voted to increase the water bill. It's just gathering the information so I have a clear understanding of it. And that was where my vote came from on that. And just thank you to everyone for coming out tonight.
Okay, I got a surprise for you. I don't usually do this. It's kind of like the eclipse. It comes once every 20, 25 years. But I'm agreeing with Jerry on the talk you guys had today. As a council, I kind of feel like the proud father because I'm sitting up here and I'm so used to fighting with all of you back in the day. But you've all grown so much now that you look at the bigger picture as a whole. You come out of this talking, you come out of this civil at the end of it. We are all on the same page. There was no bad language. There was no, I hate you, nothing. You came out of this with sense and sensibility. I feel immense right now. I'm glowing if you don't know. But on the doom side of this, our city is growing, okay? I keep mentioning development because development, you know, I know you all think I'm this young buck and I'm just so handsome and stuff, but really I'm old. And I used to live in California years ago. And I know I keep bringing this up, but watching California destroy itself in the early years when San Bernardino did this whole water conservation thing and stopped watering and all that, the fires started on the hillside. Pretty soon you have the San Bernardino fires burning every year because everything was so dry. This is not a new thing that you're doing. This is the thing that's already been tried. So I ask that you be careful going forward as our city's growing. Make sure you're looking at everything really closely because we're obviously not going to stop growing. And we've got to be careful. We've got to look at everything really close. And everybody out there depends on us to make the right choice. So I ask that you do that on a regular basis. Tonight you did it. You talked about everything. You made everything seem like it was important. And it was to you, I know. But people saw us talking about it. I think that's what it's really all about. That's what these people want to see. They see that we're taking the time to make these choices. So that's it. I've blasted off enough on you, but I appreciate every one of you. I appreciate staff for everything they do and the county for coming forward with their plan. I think it'll work out in the end. I just feel for the people that are used to homes and all of a sudden they're in a tower. You know, like I said, that's California all over again. It scares the heck out of me, but I love all of you. Go home and enjoy your families and we'll see you next time around. This meeting is adjourned.